Okay, so it's gonna be 5 chicken McMuffins.
How many?
5.
5?
Yes.
Okay, and drink?
Any drinks? Any drinks?
No
drinks.
Okay, just the orange juice. Just the one orange juice, thanks.
For sure, any hash brown for you?
I don't think so.
No.
15.69.
Oh, okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, McDonald's.
Thanks, McDonald's. I'll thank them later when I'm on. Whoa, not the butterfly.
Where?
Oh, it's on my window now.
Oh, you hit a butterfly. So, Colin and I have figured out all the prizes, and we're also talking about Jaego. Jaego is still on our roster. It's about 2 to 3 weeks away, depending on when this video is going to get released. But we are thinking for Jaego, we're going to do like an introduction video, and yeah, just something funny. Thinking about talking like robots. Haha. I don't know.
Humor.
Humor. Like hummus, humus. It's like, what the heck is humus? I remember saying that at Walmart one time. Like, ma'am, I can't wait to have some humus. This lady, humus, and like I remember she just heard me say so many times. It's like, what is humus? Like every day, I'm like, you'd say humus and carrots, because I started liking hummus and carrots. I just called it humus, and one day she was just triggered. Chris, I have no idea what you're saying. I think that's a venereal disease or something. Like, is something wrong with you? What is humus? I'm like, it's H-U-M-M-U-S. That's hummus. That is hummus. Why do you call it humus? I'm like, I don't know. I just thought that's what it was. Like humidity. Like hue.
One time Chris thought that a balaclava was actually the dessert baklava. And someone asked him for a balaclava for Christmas as part of their Christmas gift. And he went to the bakery looking for baklava. Like the Turkish, is it Turkish or like the Lebanese dessert?
Lebanese dessert. Oh man. Yeah, can you imagine unwrapping? It was like, oh, it's like great. It's the same size as the box. But the moment he opened it, it's just like, oh, what is this? I was like, we asked for
Balaclava. No, I asked for a balaclava.
Oh, I was missing a few vowels. This is what happens because I skip through things. I don't read them often, and I miss a couple of vowels.
You very much skim through things.
Oh man, this is why Colin's awesome, because he actually reads.
Oh, dude, that's so fun. I can't believe that was a long time ago. That was like 10 years ago.
Oh my god, yeah. That handicap button,
Yeah.
and then he touched his face.
Oh, nice.
Like he did this.
There's these 2 girls in a car and they were passing by.
Yeah.
And they were just like smiling and laughing, and then they looked over and then like they didn't look at me, they looked at Colin at the front, and then they looked at each other and they like giggled, and I'm like and I was like, oh yes, hello.
Recording?
How would you know?
Get it again.
What?
Get it again.
Are you recording?
Yes.
We literally just saw a guy come here, touch the handicap sign, and Chris said he immediately went and rubbed his face. That is not how you prevent the spread of COVID.
Don't touch your face.
You first.
Hey, what is going on, everybody? Sorry, I think the stream died there for a moment. Noah's interview was too powerful, and
It's too awesome that it crashed.
It crashed the stream, which
No,
means
it was the washing machine.
it might have been the washing machine as well. But we are back online, and we have our next building guest. This has been a much anticipated one. We cannot wait to share this now as well as later on because, I mean, we're fanboys, and this is an amazing opportunity.
This man is a legend in the community. We got so many messages about when is he going to be on, and this man needs no introduction. Everybody in the LEGO community knows him. He's very influential, and he's changed the face of mech community forever. I guess like pretty much everyone has somewhat seen his work online.
Probably in some way, shape, or form. If you haven't, though, we will give him the opportunity. Please introduce yourself, sir, and let everyone know who you are and what your normal handles are that you go by online.
So, hi everyone. I'm Lou, or Lou Sim. Sim is my last name. I also go by the handle Messimaru. And yeah, I'm a Lego mech builder. So that's purely my focus as a Lego AFOL. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Where did we've talked about online handles a little bit. Where did Messimaru come from? Is there a story behind that?
Yeah, actually, started when I was still a very active playing online games. I used to play a lot of first-person shooters like Counter-Strike when it first came out.
Oh,
I almost went competitive with it during like the early 2000s. But like if you're aware of that time of the gaming, the like esports gaming scene, it was very young, and you know, parents would just tell you, what are you doing, spending so much time on the computer? So you know, I had to drop it. And my handle there was actually like Batsmaru, like the Sanrio character.
Okay.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay,
and,
interesting.
Yeah. So, and my second first name is like shortcut to Mess, MES.
Okay.
And some people would call me Messi. So it kind of just transformed from Batsmaru to Messimaru.
Interesting.
And
okay.
ever since then, I just kept it.
Cool. Well, it's really interesting. I love hearing the origin stories behind, especially like internet handles and stuff. Like how, because it's something that you are going to be associated with for a long time. So it's really cool to hear how.
I think.
Now,
well, I mean, you got a logo, website, blog, everything dedicated to.
Yeah, everything's just branded with that. So.
That's awesome.
Do you have a tattoo? Do you have like a Messimaru?
No. Not yet.
Maybe we'll get some.
Maybe I'll make a shirt, but yeah.
Ooh, please. Can you tell everybody as well the Facebook channel that you run, or that you founded?
Yeah.
It's a really big inspiration for a lot of people.
I'm also a co-admin for like a Facebook community purely for Lego mech building. It's called Brick Mecha Division, and the guy behind it, like the mind, like the really, you know, core guy who behind it was actually Kelvin Lowe or Chubby Bots.
Chubby Bots. Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Then we've actually been talking like sometime late 2016, and he was asking about how do you feel about starting this online community purely for mech building, Lego mech building. And it was me, Benjamin Che, and him who started it in like January or early 2017, and kind of just evolved into what it is now. I think we're something like 2,000 members, and like Kelvin has always been on point with it, trying to make sure it's a cultivating place for like discussion and sharing tips. Yeah. So yeah, it's a Brick Mecha Division over at Facebook.
Nice.
Shortcut to BMD. For the most part, like I handled the graphic stuff. Like I made the logo and stuff. But yeah, what we try to do is we have like monthly challenges to engage community members to kind of practice their practice and hone their mech building skills. So, because we felt like if you just keep sharing stuff on like the usual channels, Flickr, Instagram, it's kind of hard to get that good feedback on how to go from a starting mech builder to getting advanced techniques. So that was one of the driving forces behind making BMD, to have a place where you could talk to other people, get constructive feedback, learn new techniques, and just hone your like craft in mech building, and maybe get more people into mech building.
Yeah,
So yeah.
It's got a pretty big following. We see a lot of mech builders, but on that point, Lou, maybe we'll do this in two parts. Maybe the first one is, what was the major thing that you can remember, or was there a major thing that you can remember in terms of like a building technique or something that really started like evolving your mech building? Like, was there a certain like frame that you ended up designing? You're like, oh, this is what's really gonna get me like above and beyond. And the second part to that is, if you don't have that, for a beginner mech builder, like what is the thing at the beginning that they should really focus on to be able to help them get that really good core understanding so that they can evolve into becoming.
That's a loaded question.
I'm sorry, that's a really big question.
It's okay.
It's a two-part.
So let's start with the first one. Actually, when I started building my mechs in Lego, I didn't actually start with using a frame. Like most of the people who know me by the frame mech guy. Like I can't build without one.
Yeah, RD frame.
When I started building it, there wasn't actually a frame, and I kind of felt frustrated having to restart builds from scratch. If you see my earliest builds over at my Flickr page, it's there. You'll notice that like they're not the same sizes. They don't have the same skeletal or anatomy wise. They're not like anything similar, and it kind of got to a point where it was a little frustrating for me to go from one build to another, knowing that I'd have to redo the skeletal work all over again. And I just decided that I think it's time to create a frame. And that was like the pivotal point in my like Lego building career, I guess. When I started developing that frame, something just clicked that I could develop designs much faster. It also gave me a very good sense of consistency, and it allowed me to like create this. If you know my stuff, then I have this fictional backstory to my builds, where I kind of contain everything. Yeah, so it allowed me to have that consistency to be able to create new designs that would fit that same environment. So it kind of worked out for me, and it made the whole design process for me much streamlined. Then for the second question, usually for beginner builders, when it comes to mechs, aside from the whole aspect of just have fun with it, I think one of the biggest challenges is to try and experiment with different kinds of joints, different part connections that will give you articulation, like a different, like various motions. Like if you go with ball joints, or if you go with like the old school T-bars, if you're familiar with that piece, the pneumatic T, then you just add clips to it, or you socket it into cross axles. Getting a good sense of how joints work for mech building, like pretty much puts the foundation for developing your skill. If you kind of have a bad idea, or like if you're not too familiar with different joint styles, kind of hinders your progress to like make better designs, because the joints can't handle the weight, or the joints can't handle the articulation that you want to go for. So usually I'd suggest, just toying around with different pieces and see how you can get different articulation for that.
Is that with the joints itself? Is that how you were able to achieve your reframe system? Was that how?
Yeah,
was that how you...
there was a huge focus on articulation when I designed the reframe skeletal system. Aside from choosing parts that were very economical, like very available to everybody, I also wanted to have a very good range of movement for like the skeletal system, so people could, play around with it more. Um, I felt that the like if I focus too much on the aesthetic part and not like, it should be like equal part good articulation with being able to have a good aesthetic to the design. So I didn't want to make it like too action figure like. So there's a certain range of articulation you can get from it, but at the same time it's not too rigid because if you make a mech that's too rigid, then it looks like a statue instead of a actual robot thing.
Yeah. So using your RE frame, I can see some in the background, but I can also see other things like are those mobile suits like right above you? They are. Is that
So
yeah?
yeah, this is my work area. Um, Before I went back into, I had a very long. Did I have very long dark ages? Like I stopped playing with Lego around 10 years old,
Okay.
or maybe 12. Then I kind of went back to it only after college plus work.
Wow.
So that's like a
Oh.
10, 12 year gap, I think.
Yep.
In that time frame, I was busy with Gundam.
Ah,
So that was my thing.
that makes sense.
I think I dropped Lego completely when I got hooked on Gundam. Um, and the very first Gundam I got was a 1/144 um, Gundam X kit from my
Oh,
sister
Gundam
for my
X.
birthday.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so it
Not
was
even
it was
weight.
like this like no, it was pretty small. But I mean, when I got the box, I was like, oh my god, what is this? I need more. So I got hooked on Gundam.
Totally.
And actually, the ones you see here in the display case, it's what's left of my Gundam collection.
Mm.
This is a Gundam line called Gundam Fixed Figuration. They no longer
Yes,
make
I have
these.
Yeah, we have those
Yeah,
too.
so yeah, so this is the GFF line. Um, and I got this. I started collecting this like the time I started working, and for like I think for a span of 3 years when it was in production, I just tried to buy as much as I could,
Right.
and yeah, so that's what I think I have most of them. I'm probably missing just a bit of like duplicates because the way that toy worked is you needed to buy two kits to get two models of the same kit.
That's right. You had
Yeah.
to mix
Yeah,
it.
so
Yeah,
it
exactly.
it was a
Right.
different configuration. So the upper part of the display cases are all Gundam, and all the lower parts and a bit of the ones on the edge are all Lego. So those are all the Lego designs, or the ones I've kept, the Lego mechs that I've made.
That's so funny.
They're all there.
So what?
I think it's being hard. It's kind of hard being a mech guy if I don't have a Gundam collection.
So is that the staple? Like you have to have. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
true.
I have to
it's
have
true.
Gundam.
It feels like most mech builders in whatever genre it might be, but especially Lego too, like had some sort of Gundam phase, or at least some sort of
Yeah,
influence in some way. And that was actually going to lead into my next question, Lou. How did you, or what was the reason for phasing out of the Gundam community and back into the Lego community, but staying with mech? Because the Gundam or the Gunpla community, you could be a Gunpla member forever. There's so much you
Yeah,
can
you
do.
can't stop.
Like
You won't
there's
stop.
tons you can do with it, right? So what was it about doing mechs out of Lego that really inspired you to transition?
That's actually an excellent question, and I like the biggest answer I have for that is um, recycling parts.
Mm.
I think I did Gunpla for around 10 years, and I had all these boxes of unused, well, finished models that I couldn't recycle anymore.
Yeah.
And I always looked at them and always thought back to Lego. Like, if you were Lego, I could just break you down and I could just rebuild you into something else, which was, that was my childhood. I have sets. I wouldn't build them. I just make them into small mechs. And whenever I built a finished model in Gundam, I'd enjoy it. I'd enjoy the design. I'd enjoy the whole building process. But you just display it, and
That's it.
after a while, I just felt like you could be something more, but you can't, because I'd have to completely destroy you. So that made me want to go back to Lego. And like when I went back to Lego, the first thing I said was, I'm gonna make mechs. Like I'm not gonna make. I thought about making cars. I couldn't wrap my head around making buildings. I knew I wanted to make mechs. So that's where the idea came from, to like make a frame as well. Because if you're familiar with like the bigger kits for Gundam, they usually revolve around having a frame system inside of them. So I wanted something similar to that, and also something similar to. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the toy line. It's called from Kotobukiya. It's frame arms.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
So at the
it's
time when I
almost
started,
inspired as-
Very
Yeah,
similar,
so when I started going back into Lego, that was like a big toy line, and I was like, oh, I kind of want to have a frame and just change the armor pieces, and that could be something that could have a lot of designs in a very fast time. So that's what I went with.
So something interchangeable, something that you were able to
Yeah.
repurpose.
Repurpose, yeah.
And that actually really
Yeah.
shows, because the one thing that we've noticed with you is there's different versions of your frame. Like you
Yeah,
would
yeah, yeah.
revisit something that you've already designed, and you would make a version 2, right? I think you have
Yeah,
one
yeah.
that you did do different iterations on. I think it was a Selena.
Yeah, I actually have a checklist of certain designs and which ones I want to evolve into what. But
Wow.
I haven't had the time to actually go through all of it, because every few weeks I'm like, oh, this guy is like 3 years old. Oh, you gotta have an update.
Oh,
So
Do you have like a
there's a
master
list.
list? Like,
There's a
is it on a
list.
piece of
I
paper?
do. I have an Excel file
Oh.
listing everything down, and I have like a scratch paper somewhere, and you can actually see it there.
Oh, there it
it's
is.
on
It's a
the
tiny
schedule.
piece of paper. Yeah.
Can
There's
somebody
like a
screenshot
list
that
of things
and
there.
zoom in?
So there's like names there of future builds. There's stuff that I want to rebuild. Yeah. So and every now and then I'd look at the display shelves and then go like, oh, which one of yours is the oldest?
That's so cool.
That makes sense.
Oh, you're gonna be next. Yeah. So you're gonna be next. You're gonna be updated.
That's awesome.
So,
yeah.
I had a quick question, because you made an interesting point about when you came back to Lego, you were thinking about like, what should my niche be? You landed on mechs, obviously. It seems like a very natural choice now. But to be able to do what you do, you would have had to accumulate a pretty decent amount of parts, and specific
Yeah.
ones. So I'm
How?
assuming you didn't come in just buying sets. Did you just come in, you're like, I'm going straight to Bricklink and I'm going to create a base of like how did you start
Yeah,
your
how
collection?
Do you submerge your back into a
There's
culture that's
actually-
so
Yeah,
so
there's
much
actually a
layers.
funny story behind that.
Oh,
Because
yes.
when
Excellent.
I started like really committing myself to going back to Lego, I did not know of Bricklink.
Oh, okay.
So the first thing I do is like hop on to Facebook, I think, or I think I went to Google and like just searched like Lego parts Philippines, I think,
Uh-huh.
and like oddly enough, a search result came out for one of the local guys here who has a Bricklink store. Manila Brick was his Bricklink store name.
Manila Brick,
And-
nice.
Yeah, so I go onto his Bricklink page. I'm not even sure how I'm gonna pay for it, because Bricklink in like mid that was like mid 2010. So I think 2013, 2012, somewhere around that time. It was still the old layout. Well, it's still pretty old. It's kind of hard to navigate, so I wasn't sure how I'd pay for it. But I start adding parts to my cart.
Oh, no.
And you know how the story goes, right?
Yeah,
Just keep
it's
adding parts like,
dangerous.
oh, I think I need this. And at the time, I was like, I stopped buying Gundam. So I had like a fund saved up for buying Lego parts. And at the time, I was buying, I was trying to buy parts for MFZ, Mobile Frame Zero.
Right.
So I didn't even know how big I wanted to go. I just knew that I wanted to build Mobile Frame Zero guys, because I kept visiting certain blogs that kept talking about MFZ. So I started buying parts, and like the total is something like, should I say it?
Of
Oh, I
course.
don't, only if your wife is gonna be okay with it. Only if you won't get in trouble.
No, I'll just keep it. But it was quite a big sum.
Can you say it
And
in pesos? Not in US
I can say it in
dollars.
pesos. It's around 9,000 pesos. So
Oh my god.
like I ended up with that, and it wasn't like a lot of parts. It was just a lot of colors and a lot of like quantities of 4, 8, but a lot of colors. So it kind of snowballed into a huge sum. And when I did all the checkout process, I think I got a message from the guy, and he was kind of dubious that he was getting such a big order. So because it's kind of weird
That's
that
a lot.
someone outside the community would just go to your store and buy that much Lego out of nowhere, right? So we actually had to talk to each other, and he had to kind of validate my persona, if I was real, that I was buying Lego. And like a little later, he invited me to join the lug, and that's kind of how I got into joining like Lego communities. Because prior to that experience, I didn't know that there was actually lugs.
Right.
When I was building as a kid, you don't really know that there are online communities that's focused on like in your area. So that was a first for me, and yeah, that was like the first 2 or 3 years of my return from the Dark Ages. I
So-
just got
You said you made this Bricklink order. You had it in this cart. He was dubious, but as soon as he found out that you were legit, he invited you to. Had you built anything yet? That was your first order. Had he actually seen you build yet? Or like,
think
was there a
I
little
had,
bit of
like-
time between that?
there was a little between there's a time between my Bricklink purchase, and our first lug meetup that I attended.
Oh, gotcha.
So in between, I was able to build something small. I think it's still on my Instagram somewhere.
Okay.
And I actually had to dig up my old, the parts I had when I was a kid, and I built something out of that. And I think that's what I brought to the first lug meeting. So
Very cool.
Yeah.
Now, my other question is: so you got your parts and you got your frame, but what makes your builds really stand out is the story, the universe. I really want to get into your head, because story is what brings things to life, and if you don't have a story, it doesn't. I guess it doesn't stay with a lot of people. So a lot of your builds, people resonate with, right? Because there's a story between all the different factions. How did you come up with that?
Okay, so the whole backstory or like the fictional setting for my creations kind of revolve around my love for the mecha genre, and like different video games that were about mecha. I'm still an avid fan of Armored Core.
Yeah,
Nice.
And I grew up playing a lot of Virtual On, and
Okay.
I think for the Front Mission, so those three for video games. I wouldn't include Gundam because I mostly watched it instead of played it.
Sure.
But if you're familiar with most of these storylines and these mecha media franchises, they usually revolve around some kind of conflict that kind of justifies the need for the mechs.
Yeah.
So that's how I kind of started with the whole mech wars thing, and it actually got conceived with one of my local like Lego buddies, Josiah Samaniego. I think he has I can't remember his IG name right now, but
Facebook?
ooh,
Is it Facebook?
I think he has an IG, but I'm not sure if he's that active. But
Okay.
him and like a few local guys that I started building with, we had this chat group, and that's where we kind of started the whole mech wars thing. it was supposed to be like a challenge we put out for for our log, that people could join in and build their own versions, and we'd have like a competition, friendly competition for who has the best looking build and the best faction, stuff like that. Um, so that's how the backstory started, and uh, like the reframe was coined because Josiah was a music guy, like he teaches piano, so it was supposed to be like refrain. So like the music term refrain, and
Oh yeah,
like
okay.
some of the other like earlier um, naming conventions for the MechWars thing was based around music themes. So that's interesting.
Oh,
Oh,
I didn't
interesting.
know
I
that.
didn't know that
That's
either.
how it started.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
like there's some that has a symphony. I believe. What was that one? I think. Yeah, they were
Um,
based off music.
there was a few terms that was like the material that like all the factions fight over is called chorus, but
Yes.
spelled with a QUO instead of a
Mm.
CHO.
Yeah.
So
That's cool.
that's the naming, that's
Music.
the music naming coming into play.
Are you into music at all, or was that just from Josiah's?
No, that was mostly Josiah.
That's
Like
so cool.
I'm
So
a
you
visual guy. I have no like musical talent whatsoever.
Gotcha.
and your background is graphic design, right? This is why you're able
Yeah,
to do all this. And it,
yeah.
are you a freelance or do you work for somebody specifically?
I think I started doing freelance graphic design around the time I was in high school. Um, in college, I was already getting some clients because of my freelance work, or my at the time I was dabbling in Flash until they killed it.
Oh, of
Um,
course.
so when they killed Flash, I was like, what do I do now? Then when I started college, or I went to a university here in the Manila, um, I switched. I actually started as a mechanical engineer, and I switched into communications, and that's where I kind of got honed for the whole graphic design stuff, and I started joining organizations like school organizations that focused on like graphic design and arts. So I was able to like really practice my soon to be profession. When I finished university, actually worked as a graphic designer for a like a multinational computer brand, and like I actually after that job, I actually taught in the same university I studied in as a lecturer for graphic design.
Oh, that's cool. You're a
So
teacher. Okay.
I've always been like interested in either teaching graphic design or doing graphic design. So that's still something that continues until this. So
I mean, your instructions alone is amazing. It's way better than Lego. Like, I wish I
yeah.
could. I wish I was able to like print this off in high quality. Because yeah, we bought your instructions and holy smoke, 50 pages.
Oh really?
Yeah,
I actually have. Is it?
oh, you
Oh.
have the books.
So
That's the
this a
one.
defect because
Oh, that's
there's
a
a printing
defect.
error here.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
can you
But
sign that and
yeah.
send it to us as like a
We'd
misprint?
like-
That'd be
yeah,
great.
Yeah, sure, why not? I actually want to sell them as physical copies.
Yes.
Very cool.
I actually have them in my storage, but like the biggest issue is shipping from where I live to outside where I live is
Yeah,
quite expensive. So
We know
I
too.
normally sell them during events.
Mm,
That makes sense.
So
we'll have to go.
yeah,
to
when I
Japan.
go to conventions, then actually I think I met Nick, the guy next to
Yes,
me in this
that's
interview.
right.
So
They were
so
saying. They were
I'm pretty
saying.
sure he has a copy of this. I know he has
Oh,
a
does he?
copy of it.
Serious?
No,
I think
Nick.
so. I think so. Yeah.
Oh, I
So
should have.
yeah.
I should have asked Nick.
That's awesome.
But
That's
yeah,
so cool.
when I started making the instructions, I knew that I didn't want to make something like how Lego did it.
Yeah.
It, it it's not that it's not visually good. Like I think the instructions of Lego is spot on in terms of how it's broken down into steps. But I came from a Gundam background, So the way I would build Lego Gundam or Lego mechs would be something like how you'd build Lego Gundam. The way the instructions are isn't just like add 2 pieces.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be like for mech building. It's also hard to do that because the steps would be a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For if I did that
Yeah.
instead of a 60-page instruction manual, I'd probably have like something maybe 100.
Yeah.
So that'd be too much. So I normally have in one step I'd have like I think I can just show it here.
Guys, you have to pick up an instruction from Messi.
So something like that.
That's so nice.
Oh my
Right.
god. Yeah, it's
So,
pretty straightforward.
I'd combine like certain like attach left right in one box instead of doing it like left one, the next page right one. That also makes it more fun to kind of navigate through the whole thing. So
Well, I was just gonna say that as well. Just the way that it's laid out, you do have to think about it a little bit more. Just to like, you have to really understand
Yeah.
like how it's going together. And so I think that
Yeah,
understanding as well will help people become better builders as they go through through your manual. So it's very cool.
I hope so. I hope so.
Before we run out of time,
Okay.
we saw on your Instagram you were teasing. I'm dying. I don't know what you were teasing us about. You didn't even tag us. You just said get ready for BuildCon.
I think it's
Ooh,
Oh,
Right
it
there.
wasn't that one.
it wasn't that one. No,
What
something
is
else.
This one?
yeah.
It's black.
So
It's-
well, the one behind it. So this one's actually the black version of the Luden's build I'm building for or I built for Kojima Productions. Not as a commission. I just wanted to do it. But this was the time where Death Stranding came out in like early 2020 when things weren't chaotic.
Yes.
So I built that, and it's actually gonna be sent to Berlin.
Oh.
Then a guy from Germany contacted me. If you follow me on Twitter, you'll know more about this. A guy from Berlin contacted me, and he's making a tribute book to Hideo Kojima. So he's gathered like cosplayers, illustrators, like there's a guy who makes custom controllers, and that guy got his attention, and he wanted to like incorporate it in the book.
Mhm.
And at the same time, I'm also having that sent over to him so he can bring it, or he was supposed to bring it, but now he's gonna send everything to Japan,
Oh.
to their main office, and so hopefully they'll display it if it doesn't break on the way, because
Yeah,
nothing's
I was gonna
glued.
say.
So like what I've been doing for the last week, I think, is just taking step-by-step photos of that
Yes,
guy,
that's-
and at the
that's what I
same
was
time,
thinking, yeah.
yeah. At the same time, since I'm doing a step-by-step of the white version, I made the black
Made
version.
another one.
Yeah, so right there. So
not?
might as well. Like,
Very cool, very
Yeah.
cool.
Are you able
Yeah.
to show us a little more teaser, or is that the only teaser we're gonna get today?
he's not quite finished, but like he's missing the backpack.
Oh, can we see that
But
one instead?
like, yeah. Wait. I think let me just
iPhone.
get
It's
it.
okay. Yeah, go for it. Woo!
That's so cool. A black version. That one is amazing. Everyone's talking about Khajiit, that build, the Luden. This is the black version, eh? This is what's his name? Higgs. This is the Higgs version.
Yeah. So
Black
this
and
guy.
gold.
Let me hold him. It's quite big.
Yeah.
This is
seriously.
actually the same size as the 1/6 toy. So
Oh,
like
yeah, you're right.
if you
did
put them
base it
side by
off that.
side,
Yep.
yeah. So proportions and everything it's articulated. It's like completely articulated, but I dare not move it around so much.
Yeah, please don't drop it.
I mean, it was designed to be articulated, but not as rigid as my reframes, because
Right.
there are some design over function pieces, like the elbow kind of falls off.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it's kind of missing the backpack. So if you can see this, talk
yeah.
us
Yeah.
not there.
It's not
So.
that bad. Yeah.
No, that's cool though.
Yeah.
It's really great to get this sort of
early
live
release.
live peek, little sneak peek for everybody and us as well. Very very cool work. That's so awesome. We've got I think 10 minutes or so, so I'm just gonna
We'll leave it up to the
scroll up a
questions.
little bit just to see what we have for questions here.
I'm sure people. Oh, I see a lot.
Oh, someone was curious if you have a Lego store near you and like how close it is, and if you visit it to like pick up pieces at all, or if you just strictly bricklink.
Well,
I do. It's quite near. Well, it's not walking distance near, but if I drive, maybe it's around 30 minutes
Okay.
distance, so it's not so bad. Um, Fortunately, we've been getting a lot of, or we've had several Lego stores open in Manila over the last 3 years, I think. So it's gotten more common. The pick a brick walls aren't that great, sadly, and I think it's based off the Singaporean Lego store model, where instead of paying per cup, you pay per gram.
Oh.
that's
So
a lot more expensive.
it's not as accessible as you'd want it to be. Sometimes it is, depends on the part. Um, but where I mostly get my Lego as outside of Bricklink is there's been a surge of local part sellers for Manila. So
Interesting.
there's been groups that focus purely on selling parts.
Okay.
So that's actually been a driving factor to kind of get a mocking community
Yeah.
in like where I in the metro anyway. It's made parts quite accessible. Like you could find parts from one of the for newer sets, and it's not priced bad. So
Wow.
for the most part, I've been getting parts locally. Yeah,
And how
I
did they
actually
start?
haven't.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go
Continue.
ahead, guys.
No, please.
I haven't been buying from Bricklink as much because there are just more parts available locally. So
That's
that's a
great.
good thing.
It saves you shipping.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Right?
What I was gonna
Yeah.
ask is, how did these local part sellers, if they're not going through
Where
Bricklink,
do they get their source?
well, no, how do you guys connect? Is it on like
Oh,
a
yeah.
Facebook group, or like how did you guys find out about each other?
It's mostly through Facebook. So
Oh, cool.
that's
Facebook.
yeah. So there's Facebook groups that, like, if you're Manila based, you could look for them. And there's quite a lot of sellers. So they have they have varied parts that they're selling. Most of them are, I think, doing it by breaking up sets, like sets that are very cheap to or are very good to part out. They buy a lot of it, they part it out. Um, Fortunately, we've seen a lot of Ninjago sets being parted out and like
Nice.
parts,
Yeah,
parts.
the
So yeah.
We had Andrew Steele yesterday mention like Ninjago
Yeah.
as his go-to sets. There's so many good
Yeah,
parts.
I mean,
Color.
same for me. I mean, I have boxes there of Ninjago unopened, just waiting to be.
That's your backlog.
Yeah, my backlog to sort. Yeah.
Now, one question about more specifically about the community itself. You were saying that you're trying to cultivate more mocking community in the Philippines. How is the community there in the Philippines, like in terms of Lego builders? Is there a huge following, or is there
There's
like is it
actually
cost
a-
barrier?
There's a decent amount of people who are actually doing mocks. Um, I, th- I mean, prior to the whole lockdown situation, there's a regular, like every 2 weeks, there'd be a meetup and
Oh.
there'd be like a new wave of mocks going in. So I think in the last 2 years, in terms of like Metro Manila, there's been a good amount of mockers and a good quality of mocks that's been being produced. Um, uh, like the only one of the barriers would be, we still get sometimes like knockoff people or people buying knockoff Lego, and it's still a price barrier.
Yeah.
But because of the surge, the increase in local part sellers, then slowly it's being like purely Lego. So that's a nice thing.
That's good.
That's really good.
Yeah.
So one of the
Yeah.
next questions that we had was, and we can see the rainbow wall behind you of all of these sorted parts, and it's going in like color schemes. The question is, what is your favorite color to build mechs in? If you had to choose a singular color,
Good question.
your color choices are really good when you do your mechs. But if you could only build in one color, which would it be?
I have a guess.
If it wasn't so limited, I'd probably go with either sand blue or sand green.
That was my
Ooh.
guess. Sand
I
blue.
mean,
love
I
I
that
know
one.
we
Yeah,
talked about
I
sand
mean,
blue a
I love
lot. It's
sand
so
blue.
nice.
Yeah.
Yes.
Actually, this guy's still alive, so
That's the one. That's the
still
instructions
sand
I
blue.
bought.
Yeah.
That one.
Yeah.
That was the one that we bought during
So-
Christmas time.
Sand blue, yeah, very cool.
Sand blue is just, I mean, just a beautiful color to work with. I like the more like earthy colors, I guess,
Right.
for mech builds. I've been wanting to do an olive green one, but
Ooh, that'd be cool.
you'd be surprised with the lack of certain olive green parts.
Mm.
So
It's
like
still limited.
basic olive green parts. My minimum requirement for making a mech in a certain color would be it has to have a 1x2 plate, a 1x3 plate, a 1x1 plate, and maybe a 1x1 tile and a cheese loop.
And a chisel. Oh
Oh,
wow!
yeah.
And I'm surprised that olive green doesn't have that yet. Which one's missing?
I think it's missing. I think it was missing a 1x3. There's one part that was missing that's making it hard to build a fully sand green mech. So I'm gonna have to check
Blue hasn't
because
sent that your way.
yeah.
Maybe he's hoarding it all.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
So
though. I
that's-
mean, it's also
yeah.
interesting to hear like your minimum requirements because it also gives us like a really good idea of like what goes through your mind when you're trying to start building a mech, which is really cool. So
1x3, 1x2, 1x1s, and chisel.
yeah.
Really?
It's also
That's-
a 1x2 tile, I think it was.
Yeah.
I think with just that you could make a pretty decent like basic looking mech without looking too chunky or what. Like with the right amount of details and what.
Very cool. That's awesome. Well, that's a great question. The question is, do you take your builds apart after you're done building them? I guess to reword it, like how long do you normally keep one of your Lego mechs together before you decide to repart it?
There used to be I think it's a matter of space for me. Display space.
There you
If those display areas are full, then someone has to go back to the pile. I think there are still like if you can see it, I'm pointing here. The
Yeah,
white
the
and
third
black
cabinet?
guy here.
Yep.
Yeah, those
That
two
guy?
guys are around 4 years old.
Oh yes.
The guys beside them are like fresh, but they're like really due for an update. And I already have like an idea how I'm gonna do it. It's just that I haven't had the time to do it. But yeah, I've kept builds for around 4 years before I felt like they needed to be dismantled into a new mech.
Okay.
Like this guy's actually going to be dismantled.
Oh
So
no.
He's on the chopping block. That's why he was out. He was ready.
he's on the chopping block. Yeah, that's why he's within reach.
Oh, no.
Because he got replaced by that white guy. Point. That guy.
That one.
So
that one.
he got
Okay.
replaced. Yeah.
Poor guy. Well, he'll live forever
Yeah.
on the internet,
Well,
thankfully.
he's got instructions, right? That's
That-
one
that's
that
true.
has
Yeah,
instructions.
yeah. So that's also one reason why he's due for dismantling anyway.
Well, that makes sense. He's gotten all the use out of him that you can get.
Do you ever put pressure on yourself to build like once a month, or do you ever put a time frame on your builds?
I used to have a rule to do one per month,
Ah,
but
yeah,
I've never followed through with it.
yeah. Okay.
Like I'll sometimes do none for this month and I'll do 2 for the other month. Then
Yeah, okay.
at some point I think it stopped when I started doing instructions because the instructions
Oh,
take
yeah.
so long to do.
That's so true.
Do you have a time frame?
It's like
how
one-
long those take?
I think like in the last week I've just been taking photos for the Ludens build. And the hard thing is unlike 3D instructions where you can just do it step by step and Stud.io will automate it for you to a degree.
Mhm.
I have to do it. I have to lay out the pieces, one at a time, and they actually follow a certain like angle on how they're arranged and what. And they also have to look nice
Mhm.
before they're taking a photo of. So if you see the instructions here, like those those pieces are actually laid out one at a time, and I use these little tweezers to kind of put them in place. And
Perfectly.
that takes a lot of time. Yeah. So doing one instructions takes like if I work fast, then maybe a month.
Wow,
But
that's
no,
still a lot of
I
time
take my
commitment.
time with it. Yeah, that's like on and off because if I just purely focus on it, I'd go nuts. So um,
I
yeah,
mean, it's a piece of art in itself. You might have to hire someone out to start doing instruction layouts for
I,
you, or you just
I've
get them to do
actually
the
been
pieces.
I've actually been considering that. So
Ah,
Really?
yeah, that would
hiring
make sense.
intern, we'll pay you in Lego.
I'm done. I will send in my application. You just send me.
You have to fly
photos.
over. So
Yeah.
That's even better.
Oh, there, yeah, exactly.
We'll start talking next year.
No expenses paid.
We'll it's we need a reason to go back to the Philippines.
That's
So
fair.
It's been a while.
Let's
see,
see.
what
What do
other
we got
questions?
next here? Do.
Man, our chat's been exploding. It's not the same without Messi.
There's a question here that said, what are the essential pieces that someone who is starting out in mech building should have in their arsenal? You talked a little bit about like your minimum requirements for like a color scheme, but outside of
Yeah.
that, what would you say like are the minimum requirement in terms of like style of piece?
um, for mech building, I usually have two categories for parts: aesthetic and functional. You'd want to have a good range of functional pieces to be able to build like the moving parts of a mech. So your mixel size ball joints is one. Usually, I'd always go back to clips and bars. So modified plates with the clips, like the C clip, then bars, either handles that you clip on or bars that you shoot through. So I think most of the small pieces that have those, the one by one with a handle, the a lot of the modified plates, the small pieces. So the lamp holder, the washing machine, the
Yeah.
headlight brick. Yeah. So it's also a favorite piece. And I normally rate pieces according to, it's just a term I use, connection points. How many actual points you'd be able to connect to. Like the headlight brick has a lot of connection points for it, and that offset gives you like options. So it's also a wonderful piece to have. Um, so yeah, I think if you're talking about the functional pieces, you'd want to have pieces that give you range of motion.
Okay.
It also depends on the scale you want to work in. So if you're going small, then you can get away with a lot of the small pieces as joints. But if you go big, then you probably have to depend a lot on technique. A lot of like the big joints are very technique dependent, not just for the articulation itself, but also for structure and support. So yeah.
Gotcha. No, that's really great insight. Do you have a link anywhere to? Is this all laid down somewhere so people can go read it? Like, this is all really good points. I would love to make that
He
into
does
like
have
an
a blog.
actual
Uh,
like.
Messi does have a blog.
I've actually have a notebook where I'm trying to write a book on
Oh.
how I do mech building.
Wow, he's thought of
Um,
everything.
my wife has been bugging me to finish it, but like
Oh, that's awesome.
every book, it's like you stop, then you wait a few months, then you go back to it, and like, what am I saying here? So you kind of have to
Refresh
scrap
yourself.
most of it and like reword everything.
Gotcha.
Who knows, with the if this unfortunate lockdown thing continues, then maybe I'll like spend a month just sitting down on it and getting it in at least the initial draft,
Oh, yeah.
right? But yeah, there are also people who've asked me to do like YouTube videos of it, and like I did one video of me talking about like the leg extender and I think two other pieces, but like doing video stuff for me takes a lot of work and a lot of time, and I'd rather focus on print stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully either this year or next year I'll come out with
No
that
pressure.
that guidebook.
That'd
We
be
will.
I mean,
awesome.
there's internal pressure, so I've been wanting to do it for the longest time. It's like seriously.
Whoa, hello. Sorry
We
about that, guys.
disconnected.
I think I
Something-
got cut out a bit.
You're okay. We can still hear you. The video should come on in a
Okay.
second here.
Oh.
Just double check to see if you have to turn your webcam on or not.
Ding.
This moment.
We can still hear you just fine. I think the webcam either connection is just off or you just need to turn it back. Oh, there it goes.
Perfect.
All right.
Okay, there
Sorry,
you go.
sorry about that, guys. We are pushing time really far here. We had so much we could ask you,
Sorry.
but I do want to ask a couple more questions. And so let's try and power through. So we might have to keep your answers really short. Okay.
Okay.
If there was a piece that Lego could make, what piece would you want them to create? Like in your mech building, what piece would you be like? That's ideal.
A 1x1 plate, but there's also a stud on the bottom.
Oh,
Like stud up, stud down.
I think everyone's literally waiting for something like that.
I wonder if Lego will
One
do
by
it on their
one.
anniversary.
Yeah,
I mean,
just
technically you have a piece like that. It's the wheel piece, but
yes.
you have to have it's not the same. So
It's not the same.
It did use that in one of
Lego
my.
Blocks
yeah.
has it.
Well, don't. We're not promoting that. We're not promoting that. Let's see. What's the largest mech that you ever made, and was it articulated, or did you have to keep it relatively rigid?
Largest
I mean, if you count that thing as a mech, right?
Mhm.
It's built like one,
Mm.
articulated in the same humanoid sense as my mechs, but that's probably the biggest one. If it's not counted, then I think I have the King's mech from 2013. It has a cape and a crown,
Yeah,
and it's
but a huge
around 24 or 25 centimeters tall.
Oh wow.
Or I think I might be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure it's the biggest one. Yeah. I can't seem to build any bigger than that because I don't have the technique pieces to hold the weight. Because I tend to design with a lot of small parts, so just going 10% bigger puts a lot of stress on all the joints. So it's kind of hard.
Interesting.
Like
We talked
something
about-
Benjamin
about that before,
Ched
yeah.
does, right? It's kind of hard.
Cool.
His scale is massive.
One last thing. This could be from any genre, any show. What is your favorite mech of all time?
Ooh,
Ah.
that's
it's-
a really hard
I
question.
know. Sorry, that's a good
That's
one.
a hard question. I'd have to go with the EXS Gundam. It's. I think I have I have 3 over there. It's
EXS,
over
how's that look?
there, somewhere there, up there. Can't
Sorry,
point.
we're googling because we don't
It's
know it off the
over
top of our head.
this
Oh
one.
yeah.
Yes, I have. Oh man,
Yeah.
I got this from Fixed
Wait,
Figuration.
let me grab the book.
This is a good one.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Grab it.
have books here, so
This one. Oh, I wonder what series this was from. I can't remember. I don't think they showed this in a movie. Did they? That's the one.
Oh, Gundam
Gundam
Sentinel.
Sentinel. That is my favorite. Yeah, yeah.
That's so cool.
Good call.
I think this is one of my holy grail books. So it's still in plastic. It's a secondhand book I got in Japan.
Did you-
This like from late 1970s.
1970s.
And
Oh, wow.
yeah.
Did you get it from a
it's
book
really
off?
old. Yeah, I think so. Or
Yes.
one of the secondhand stores. But yeah,
Nice.
this is my favorite Gundam ever.
Very cool.
I also had a kit of it when I was a kid, which I butchered because I was too young to appreciate it.
Of
Yeah.
course.
And it was these old kits that required glue.
Oh.
So
Oh, wow, that is definitely.
way too hard for like a 10-year-old
Yeah.
kid.
Awesome, Lou. I wish we could keep you on for longer. Unfortunately, we have to let you go. We've only got a few minutes to set up our next guest. Thank you so much for giving us
Your time.
like just scratching the surface of the genius that is your mech building. And hopefully everyone who's online and watching this in the future will get a lot of value and inspiration for being able to achieve their own mech dreams. I know that we are definitely inspired from hearing you and watching your work. So
I hope
thank
so, I
you
hope
so
so.
much for your time.
Thank you as well.
Let everybody know where they can find you, where you can direct them to just grow their passion for mechs.
If you're looking for a community that's just focused on mech building, you can look for us on Facebook. Sadly, we're not on anywhere else. Our Flickr group is just mostly for dumping your photos into. There's no actual discussion there, but you can look for us in Facebook, Brick Mecha Division. Then if you're looking for me, you can find me either on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook as Messyworks. So, or Messymaru. So I think my Facebook is Messyworks Lego, because there's also a baker going by that name. You can find me on Twitter as Messymaru and on Instagram as Messymaru. My YouTube sadly is not updated, but I also have my website where you can, every time I release a new build, a new design, I make a very in-depth article on that, and I post it on my website, and like it has like pieces that I use, like descriptions of the work in progress, more detailed info on the website. So yeah.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much
Stay on
again.
the line.
Stay on the line. We will talk to you in just 1 second before we let you guys go. Thank you guys so much for watching, and say goodbye to Lucim Messymaru. He's been an absolute pleasure to have on. We will put you to a quick commercial
Thanks,
break.
guys.
Unfortunately, when the stream crashed, our actual intermission videos kind of got destroyed somehow, so I'm going to throw you back onto the BTS video so you guys can see that for a little bit, but we only got a few minutes before Nick Trotta comes on anyway, so we will see you guys in only a few minutes.
It says all not available.
Sorry, just everything says not available right now. Could I get 2 chicken McMuffins
For sure.
and a large orange juice?
Or for sure. Would you like that a hash brown?
No, thank you.
Okay, for sure.
Are you getting anything, Colin?
That's everything for you? 785?
No, it's not everything. Sorry, I'm just waiting for the rest of my
Okay.
entourage.
Do you want anything? I'm good. I'm okay. I had breakfast.
Oh, serious?
Yeah. I had
Nobody's getting anything?
Well, actually, can you give me a egg McMuffin?
And
I'll
an
get one.
Egg McMuffin.
Oh no, sorry, a chicken McMuffin.
Oh, sorry, I lied. So a chicken McMuffin.
Do you want 2?
Sure.
She wants another one. Let's get.
Sorry.
Okay, so it's gonna be 5 chicken McMuffins.
How many?
5.
5?
Yes.
Okay. Any drink?
Any drinks? Any drinks?
No,
no
no.
drinks.
Okay, just the orange juice. Just the one orange juice, thanks.
For sure. Any hash brown for you?
I don't think so.
No.
1569.
Oh, okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, McDonald's.
Thanks, McDonald's. I'll thank them later when I'm on. Oh, not the butterfly.
Where?
Oh, it's on my window now.
Oh, you hit a butterfly. So, Colin and I have figured out all the prizes, and we're also talking about Jaego. Jaego is still on our roster. It's about 2 to 3 weeks away, depending on when this video is going to get released. But we are thinking for Jaego, we're going to do like an introduction video, and it's just something funny. Thinking about talking like robots. Haha. I don't know.
Humor.
Humor. Like hummus, humus. It's like, what the heck is humus? I remember saying that at Walmart one time. Like, ma'am, I can't wait to have some humus. This lady, humus, and like I remember she just heard me say so many times. It's like, what is humus? Like every day, I'm like, you'd say humus and carrots, because I started liking hummus and carrots. I just called it humus, and one day she was just triggered. Chris, I have no idea what you're saying. I think that's a venereal disease or something. Like, is something wrong with you? What is humus? I'm like, it's It's Hummus. That's hummus. That is hummus. Why do you call it humus? I'm like, I don't know. I just thought that's what it was. Like humidity. Like hue.
One time, Chris thought that a balaclava was actually the dessert baklava, and someone asked him for a balaclava for Christmas as part of their Christmas gift, and he went to the bakery looking for baklava, like the Turkish, is it Turkish or like the Lebanese dessert?
Lebanese dessert. Oh man. Yeah, can you imagine unwrapping? It was like, oh, it's like great. It's the same size of the box. But the moment he opened it, he's just like, oh, what is this? I was like, we asked for this.
No, I asked for a balaclava.
Oh, I was missing a few vowels. This is what happens because I skip through things. I don't read them often, and I miss a couple of vowels.
You very much skim through things.
Oh man. This is why Colin's awesome, because he actually reads.
Oh, dude, that's so fun. I love it. I can't believe that was a long time ago. That was like 10 years ago.
Oh my god, yeah. That handicap button, and then he touched his face.
Oh, nice.
Like he did this.
There's these two girls in a car and they were passing by.
Yeah.
And they were just like smiling and laughing, and then they looked over and then like they didn't look at me, they looked at Colin at the front, and then they looked at the kid and they like giggled, and I'm like, oh. And I was like, oh yes, hello.
Recording?
How would you know?
Get it again.
What?
Get it again.
Are you recording?
Yes.
We literally just saw a guy come here, touch the handicap sign, and Chris said he immediately went and rubbed his face. That is not how you prevent the spread of COVID.
Don't touch your face.
You first.
entirely through, so it normally ends up near the front so people can see in it.
Perfect.
And then, yeah, we just do bigger and bigger so the scale of the city looks like it gets massive.
Oh, wow. So after you're done setting up, one of the things that we'll be asking for is like a headshot.
Yeah.
As well as maybe we could take it in the yellow room. We'll see. Headshot and just a little info about you, because we're going to be creating like creator things, just for you guys. So
Sweet.
yeah. And so far, do you have anything?
At the very least, it'll be good for Reddit.
Oh yeah.
And then, yeah, just have it go over 2 corners.
Perfect. Thanks. Yeah, no worries. Thanks. Yeah.
Alright. So we got Tom here with his spaceship. It's about 10 feet tall. No, 10 feet long. Sorry. I guess about. So Tom's just unloading. We did ask for help. Like if you wanted help, but
It's safer to not touch other people.
we're just gonna be the rolling it out.
Yes.
Is this a Star Wars?
Or is
Yeah,
it
this is the, well,
sci-fi inspired?
I call it a Imperial Marauder. It's designed as a disguised as a rebel ship,
Ah.
but it's Imperial.
Let's go all the way back. So what? And how did it start? Like, what was the first piece of Lego you saw that why'd you get so enthused about it?
Well, I actually have been building Legos since I was a little kid. I did have a 20-year sabbatical from Lego, but my brother got into Lego when we were kids, and we used to pool, me and my brother, who's older, myself, and my younger sister would pool our Christmas money together and buy Lego with our Christmas money every year. So I fell in love with it then as a child, and then I became a teenager and I didn't care. And so my brother actually purchased the Lego that we group bought off me when I was like 19, and I'm like, I don't care, just give me the money and I run, you know, kind of thing. And then I had kids, I have step kids, and so when the kids entered your life and you start playing with this, you're like, oh man, I could build a whole city and this will come together. And yeah, so that's why I got back into it, and that was probably about 8 years ago now. And then I was working at the time. I don't work right now currently, so I had income that I could just buy Lego, and I bought a lot of Lego in that year or two in the beginning because I had the extra money to do it, and I fell in love with it, and then I got involved with clubs, and there we go.
Think that the person who has more Lego has more advantage?
Well,
Yes and no.
it depends. If said Lego is more under the form of sets that you're not taking apart, then, well, it doesn't give you an advantage. But if it's just bricks, then you probably do have an advantage, because if you have more bricks, you usually can build more. That's how Lego works. But you don't need to have a lot of bricks to be able to build something good.
Do you agree with that, Erwin?
Yes. But more bricks is usually good because you can just spread it around and filter through it.
Yeah, Lego math.
You guys won what category in BuildCon?
Dark Ages.
Dark Ages.
Return to Port.
So who came up with the idea?
Well, it was kind of based off of, I had a pre-existing mock which I made for an ideas contest and Lego Ideas. And it was kind of, there was the two characters who you can see on the mock. They're like in the smaller boat and they have the gold and all that. They actually got that from one of my previous mocks, which is like a scene where they're searching for like a lost giant who was like was in an island, and they found the treasure, and now they're returning to port.
Oh, that
Like
makes
the name, Return to Port.
That makes sense. There's a little bit more story behind the name.
Yeah.
We're getting a bit of sneak peek of one of the
mosaic designers here for BuildCon. Hey Dave.
How you doing, buddy?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Thank you for making it.
Yeah, no worries.
So, setting up right now. Maybe we can ask him like, what's the game plan for the displays? Did you have a theme going on? It looks like we do.
Well, these 4 are all from Firefly, so they're going to go together. And then there's a couple other that are like pictures, portraits of celebrities, so they'll go together.
Nice.
And then we got a few sort of island paradise themed stuff, and that'll go together.
Awesome. Awesome. And quick question.
Yeah.
How long have you been doing this for?
Sure. Should I unwrap?
Yeah, sure. If you're comfortable. I'll be here 6 feet away.
I have been making mosaics since 2008, so 12 years now, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
I just passed I have a trophy that I won at BuildCon in Seattle.
Yeah.
It was from 2010, so it was the first time.
Oh, wow.
It was 2010, so
you are.
decade.
That's congrats. So, are these more your recent ones?
No, some of these are quite old, in fact.
Oh,
So
okay.
these were ones that I made for the Calgary Expo, and so I found out that some of these guys were coming to the expo, and then I built a mosaic. So I think the first one was Adam Baldwin. And he was very excited. He was very excited about seeing a picture of himself in Lego, and so he signed it at the bottom part there. He brought these tiles in so that he could sign it. And then the next year they had Nathan Fillion, so it became this little theme, and then Alan Tudyk, and I didn't get Jewel State's autograph, but that's...
Was that for this year? Or?
No, that was a couple of years ago, I think.
Oh, okay.
This year, well, there wasn't one this year, but
Yeah.
last year, I don't think they had any Firefly people last year. So I'll just wait. Set it.
Hopefully she'll be back.
And then this one here, this is Brandon Rouse, so he also came to Expo. He was pretty excited about that as well. And then that one was signed by Peter Dinklage. They did like
Nice.
They did a private dinner at Expo for like 200 people. And I knew that I couldn't afford the ticket, so I said, hey, what if I built this cool piece of art for the show? And they were like, okay, yeah, you can go.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
So you got to go?
Yeah, I got to go.
Did you get to meet him?
Yeah, it was him and what's her name? Lena Headey that played the Queen.
Yep.
So it was the two of them just sort of telling stories and that kind of thing. So
Very cool. And he signed it, hey?
he signed it. Yeah.
That's so cool.
It's hard to read his signature, but he called me brilliant, so I'm going to use that.
Yeah, for sure.
Press from now on.
So how long does each one take?
They used to take a lot longer, but I'm pretty adept at them now. I've
Yep.
sort of developed the skill, so I could probably do something like this size. I could probably knock that out in an evening now if I was really committed.
Nice, nice. Well, we're gonna ask you more questions later.
Okay.
We'll let you set up,
All right.
but we'll talk to you later.
Okay, thanks.
In terms of your wife, is she into Lego as well?
She's not into Lego like I am. I have had her build things with me before, like we did the Lego Ideas pop-up book. We built the detective's office together. Like, every once in a while I'll say, come join me, we can build this together or whatever. But what I'm really thankful for is that she's supportive of the fact that I love Lego. That's something that honestly means the world. The fact that I can have my own little Lego space, and then she's like, yeah, you can go for it and buy Lego every once in a while and build it. Like, I think that's, she could have easily thought of me as weird for liking that, but I'm thankful that she's on board with me being part of this community.
How did you decide? Maybe you didn't decide. Maybe it just sort of evolved into on mosaics. I mean, it's unique.
Yeah, so I started getting back into Lego and was buying sets here and there. And then I think I was somewhere and I saw a picture that was all pixelated, and I was like, I wonder if I could do a picture like, of my dog in Lego. And so I figured out how to do it. I figured out how to pixelate the picture, and I did it. And I was like, okay, that worked. I was like, okay, I wonder if I could do another picture. And the answer was yes. And I did it. I have a picture of the second one, which is of my son. The first one, I don't have one of the dog, sadly. And then I just kept going. And then it was like, okay, what else can I make? Can I make something bigger? And I think the progression, and I've talked to a few other people who do mosaics, and it's the same thing. You go bigger and bigger because you need that fine detail. And you can't get the fine detail unless you go bigger. And then you get to a point where you're like, okay, this is out of hand. This is way too big. Now we got to come back and figure out a better way to,
To incorporate that.
Yeah, and it's hard to move them, and it's hard, like if you're selling one or something, people don't have 6 feet of wall. Yeah, so
Actually, a really good point that you don't really think about until you start doing it.
Stuff. This is so good.
Hello everybody, this is Colin again with Creator Industries alongside Chris. We are here at the last day of BuildCon. We are with our final guest, last but not least, up by a long shot. And we're super excited. We've all been waiting. I said super excited one more time.
And what kind of introduction can we give him?
Well, if you guys want to know anything about brick math, making a spaceship that is going to blow the minds of people near and far, if you have any aspirations to work on Shiptember, if you have any aspirations to create anything that may fly through the air or the intergalactic travels, you are going to want to know and learn from the best. And who we have is
I'm going to make
the
a
next
correction. Nick does not do Shiptember.
Oh, sorry.
We tried. Nick does not do Shiptember.
What I meant was to learn techniques if you want to do
That's
Shiptember.
have some part of that in Shiptember. But without further ado, let's meet the man himself.
Please introduce yourself, sir. Your name as well as what handles you go by online, if you do have any online handles.
Okay, Colin and Chris, thank you for the nice introduction. It's super kind. Yeah, so I'm Nick Trotta. I'm Lego Space Builder. You can find my work on Flickr. My handle is TARDIS Blue. I'm on YouTube as well. Every now and then I do a build video after I create something, and those are under Galactic Plastics. Which I show up. There's a website as well. Yeah,
for sure. Galactic Plastics. I'll make sure to type that down into the live stream chat as well for them. And they're also going to have the pleasure of watching the videos and the photos that I had put together for your interview, so they can have that opportunity to look at them as well during this interview. So that's really awesome. People are yelling spaceship, spaceship, spaceship. They are super excited to have you on board. So I don't even know how to start this without like I don't want to get ahead of myself. What's the beginning, Chris? You started.
I can't really find any information on Nick. He's very
he's an enigma.
He's an enigma, right? Is this your first interview about Lego? Have you done something like this?
For something live and interactive, it's the first time. I've done some written interviews.
Okay.
With a couple of places. Yeah. Okay. No, but I'm I'm not intentionally an enigma. I enjoy meeting people and chatting. So I'm quite happy you guys reached out.
That's awesome. Well, how did you and Chris meet? I'm really curious about that story. How did you guys connect the first time, if you remember, or is Chris even worth remembering? I'm not
sure. So Chris and I met at BuildCon. He might remember the year. I would probably get it wrong. Okay, 2017 BuildCon. So that is a convention in Seattle, and Chris was also at the Space Table. That convention is sort of organized by theme, and it threw everybody together in the space place. And I think Chris, you brought a Green Goblin's kind of sled in purple, and it was awesome. And had a chance to chat with, of course, had a chance to chat with Chris and Colleen and get to know them a little bit. That's where we first met up.
Stickers, and he was like, "Oh, so that's how? What are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm stickering up my spaceship here," and I didn't know how Nick does it, but man, he told me how he does his techniques. I'll let him share.
Maybe we'll get into that. Nick, what did you bring for the 2017 BuildCon? Do you remember what you had on display alongside Chris? Not alongside, but next to Chris.
Oh, I'm not sure. Usually when I go to the convention, the big one.
The big black one. Like
the big black one. Okay, yeah. So so one of the larger the larger Vic Vipers.
Yes.
Was probably there. And yeah, when I'm going to go to conventions, I usually bring 2 models. It's kind of my standard. So yeah, and I'm sort of ridiculous at packing things up a lot, and it takes tons of space, and then I have to fly somewhere. So 2 models is about does it. So
I've got a question because Chris and I have kind of touched base on this a little bit. Bring 2 models. It's kind of like a standard for you. Do you do that because you want to be able to just focus on putting your all into 2 models, and so that people can come and just appreciate a couple things, or like he's shaking his head as if like I'm overthinking it. Is it literally just packing that has to do with it?
It's literally that I pack it in a ridiculous way. So if you have an opportunity to be at the convention when I arrive or leave, you can just come over and laugh at me because I have the 1 suitcase, and I open it up, and then all of the ships all break down into sub-assemblies.
Gotcha.
It's like fairly complex, and then those are all wrapped up in bubble wrap and numbered bags and get packed in plastic, and it's pretty. No, it's not standard.
Sounds awesome.
I promise it's beyond standard. It's really amusing for other people. They get a good laugh out of it. But the volume of that case when it fits about 2 ships. So
I'm surprised it doesn't come on freight.
And your ships aren't that massive, right? They're about like you have a certain dimension that you always stick to, or from the looks of it. You try to stay within some parameters.
They are minifig scale, so okay. I only build minifig scale. Within that, there's some variation, but you're right. Generally there's a certain size. But some are larger, some are smaller. They're minifigs, minifig scale. They're pretty dense, and one of in terms of size, one sort of silly thing that I've been doing. Occasionally, I will measure it to make sure that it will fit inside the book. I have a bookcase with the glass on it,
cool.
And I will occasionally measure to make sure it fits in there.
And if it doesn't, you
sort of
chop it down.
If I will generally have some idea before I start it, but you can see behind. Actually, the one you were talking about, Chris, is probably on the shelf behind me because it's too up there. That one's too large for the bookcase. So
it went to the shelf instead.
So do you keep all your builds, Nick? Like when you build something, do you take it apart ever, or they're forever?
These days they are forever. I've got them all, and I think that's one of the when I was younger or when I first came back to the hobby, I didn't do that, but that's what I've done now as an adult, and that has I think that's been in some ways kind of like a primary thing that's caused me to spend a lot more time on them, because I know ahead of time I'm not going to break it down. So if it has something in it that bugs me, right, that it's not quite right, but I'm going to have to look at forevermore every time I walk by, like, it's just color's not there, the fit isn't quite perfect in some way. If it doesn't meet the standard, I'll just keep working on it, and because I know I'm going to keep it.
You're a notorious perfectionist then. Like how often? So because I think when I spent some time with you. You showed me a little bit of your process, and it's months. Like you take your time, but you go in depth with each component.
I want to get there. I do want to talk about that. I want to step back before we do though, because I feel like that's going to be like a rabbit hole that we really want to start getting into.
Believe me.
So I want to flip it back just before that. So you had mentioned that you are a spaceship builder. If anyone is watching the video, they can see it. Anyone's seen you online, they kind of know it. Where did the decision come from? How did that start in terms of your hobby to decide to, like, this is where my niche is going to be? Like you're doing it for a long time now. So like, when did that decision get made? If it got made, or did it just evolve?
The sort of how to say, being in the space genre, that stuck with me since I was a child.
Okay.
Yeah. So
sci-fi space was always.
Do you have a recollection of like what's your first set? like first space set that really?
Classics, yeah, classics. Early. I'm a child of the '80s, so early '80s. That was, wasn't called classic space at the time, but that was where I was
Just
at.
space.
Okay.
It was just space. I got the what's the Beta-01 command base? So
cool.
one of the plates with the crater and
Yeah.
and the space station and a rocket at some point, and then Futuron, Blacktron, and then I was sort of out. So that's sci-fi kind of thing has stuck with me.
Cool.
And tend to be my genre.
That's surprising because correct me if I'm wrong. Like, have you built anything within that genre, like those genres, like Mtron, within those themes? Have you ever built anything like that for them?
As an adult, you're saying?
As an adult.
Yeah. I have actually. So I did a few rounds of the Starfighter telephone game. Are you guys familiar with that? So something that used to be it's dormant now, but used to be going around. So someone would make a ship, and then you would send your physical creation in the mail to someone else, and they would use that as inspiration to make something, and they would send it along to somebody else. And eventually, after 5 or 6 people, you get something back in the mail that's been somehow inspired and evolved. Based on
cool.
Is the telephone game, and one of those rounds was a classic space round. And
you made one.
yeah, I did. Yeah,
Who
and
did
so
you
I've
send
got
yours
one.
To?
Where did that end up going? At least I made at least one copy of it. At least one of them went to a builder named Red Space Cat. So his handle's Red Space Cat. He's Dutch. His name is Stein, and so he's got a copy of that one that I sent out to him.
And
Yeah,
I
have a copy at home as well. I duplicated it before I sent it away.
That's a good idea.
What does your wife think of your ever expanding collection of ships that are taking over the visual space within the house?
That's a quick. Can ask her later. Yeah. So it's volume wise, she doesn't mind so much probably the built things. Because they're already constructed. A little bit these days, the in-process bits, the bends and the bricks and the parts are sort of invading her space. We're still on kind of quarantine lockdown here.
Sure. Yeah.
So in between work at home and then Lego at home, I needed a little more surface area. So it's spread out. It's spread out into her zone a bit.
It's encroaching a little bit, right?
Yeah. But she's super supportive. Yeah, she's really happy. She's interested in it and what I'm doing, which is it was really, really nice. I appreciate that.
Conventions together, anyways, right? She's very supportive that way. So.
Yeah, Chris also talks very highly of your wife, so that's an amazing support cast to have on your side. So.
Yeah, she's also we're different in that she's very extroverted and I'm very introverted. So even going to convention, she does it herself. Yeah. Even the first convention, I was doing the hobby at home and online and sharing things and talking with people, and I enjoyed it. And she said, "You should do this. You should go out and meet people." I don't want to meet people. I don't want to do that. That's I don't know if I'm comfortable. And then she really pushed me. And
that's awesome.
When we go places, she enjoys. This one's one of the, when we go to conventions, we tend to intentionally try to go pretty far. And so we can meet a wider group of people, more diverse people from various places, and that part's really good for her. She loves the personal connection, and it's helpful for me to get to know people. I'm sure at that BrickCon she said, started talking to Chris and Colleen before I did.
Yes,
that makes sense. That makes fact checked. Yep.
Nick, she just asked, "Hey, Nick, come over here. You gotta meet these guys."
Yeah, something like that. It's really, really helpful. I recommend that.
I love that. That's awesome. Well, we talked about our supporting cast, like our significant others, quite a bit over the last couple of days. So it's just nice to hear another great familiar story with a good supporting partner. What I was going to ask was, you talked about like classic space, which wasn't classic at the time. You talked about some other themes that you started building. When you came back into the hobby, what was like your first sort of mock that you built, and like how did you start that process? Did you have leftover Lego? Did you just start picking up pieces or sets, or did you just initially bricklink things? How did you really get back into, or really start your spaceship career?
Yeah, so I had a how to say, a kind of a false start at one point. So went off to college, did all that stuff. Came out to California, got a job, and then the Star Wars sets were released,
Makes sense.
and so then so as an adult, they started buying those and building those, and then oh yeah, I've got all those parts from when I was a kid still. I should get those back out and start building, and bought little and went pretty into it for about a year. Got it, I got the bins and started creating things. I might have even gone to a convention back then. It was, and then just life got really busy, and disappeared for a bit, and didn't really have the space to build. So 2011, I got the space and sort of invested in opening some area in my home to be able to do this. With the intention of getting the bins back out and the parts back out and being able to touch the plastic again and create things. So and it's been pretty steady since then. Yeah, almost 10 years.
Awesome.
Has the community really strengthened your connection back into Lego? Like going to these conventions, meeting these people, was that something that really gave it more life in your daily life, I guess?
Well, it's been certainly meeting people has been. As I said, I'm not very extroverted normally, and so meeting a wide variety of interesting people from completely different backgrounds has been a huge bonus. Really, really awesome part of the experience for me. And I didn't expect that when I came back in. It was just I like building, and I could see at the time people posting things, so I started to do that as well, and then talking in comments and so on and so forth. The fact.
One second, guys. Either the video itself cuts, or we lost Nick.
Give us a second.
Give us 1 second, guys. We are going to try and troubleshoot this really quick for Nick.
Just going to wait to see if he kicks back in.
He should.
We haven't lost him yet.
You've got an amazing still shot of Nick. His wife is probably watching the stream right now and running over to tell him that he is frozen, if he doesn't already know that.
I wonder what's going on. Oh.
Ooh. Even I went out. Ooh.
I'm still in.
You are in. I'm gonna.
I guess it's just Discord.
Back out. I'm gonna hop back in. You guys are gonna see a little bit of loading. In the meantime, guys. Oh, stream is okay. No. It's the internet connection.
It's an internet connection.
Yeah, the stream. Our internet dropped.
Oh, hey Nick, we can see you.
Our internet dropped.
Sorry about that. That was very bizarre.
Give us a second though, because the stream hasn't reconnected yet.
1 second. Sorry about that. Wow, that's very surprising today.
That's the first time over the whole weekend we haven't had the internet drop at all. The Wi-Fi has been perfect.
Sorry guys, I know you guys are tuning in on Instagram right now. Just give us a second. We're trying to get the stream back up.
All right. So it looks.
Oh yeah.
It looks like that we have reconnected. If you guys could give us a thumbs up, if you can hear Chris and I, that would be really great, just to let us know that our stream has gone back through. It looks like it reloaded on the big screen behind us. Perfect. There we go. Perfect. So we're going to turn Nick's volume back on.
Nick, I'm so sorry about that.
Sorry about that, Nick.
Oh, no problem at all, guys. Should I be able to see you though? I can hear you. Is your camera off, or?
You should definitely be able to see me.
Maybe it's just the disc. Maybe it's just the disc.
No, it's probably
Perfect. We're back. Hi.
Gotcha. Hello.
See us again?
Oh, fantastic. Okay, great.
Awesome. Trouble sorted. Where were we? Anyone remember?
He was talking about the community and meeting interesting new people.
Oh, yes, yeah. I don't know how much of that you caught, but I think Chris, you were asking whether, to what extent, meeting people has been important, and it certainly has. That's amplified. Sort of for sure has taken what I get out of being able to build and be creative and made it much stronger. I really appreciate that.
Nice.
Now, I've noticed too with your builds, just going from the beginning, because we had to go sift through your Flickr and gather some photos. I noticed there was a time where you completely changed your style. Like there's a stage where like this was something you were building in this style, and then all of a sudden, like something transitioned where you started building the way you kind of start with all your spaceships now. Like, what really triggered that change of your style of building?
It's interesting you're saying that. So I'd love to know sort of where you see the flip. It certainly has been incremental for me. I can see big difference between now and when I started.
Right.
But I felt
the
as though it's gradual.
The big Vipers. I think when you started doing more of that, the designs that you had incorporated into your builds really shifted.
Yeah. So the Vic Vipers, yeah. So that's another one that was probably been helpful for me. Was you probably know there's a November event where people build Vic Vipers. So it's a spaceship that has certain characteristics in order to two front prongs and a rear wing and a vertical stabilizer. And I really turned out I really enjoyed building those. And in particular, I enjoyed doing color blocking on them and making stripes and colors flow in fun ways. And perhaps that's a little bit of what you're seeing, Chris, because once I started trying to do that, I really leaned into it. And that got to be one of those things where I was saying, in order to put the ship on the shelf, I want it to look perfect, and doing fun things with the way the colors intersect and the geometry, was something that sort of crept up on me as something I really enjoy, and you can see that pretty prevalent in what I build these days. And I get a lot out of iterating on that piece. Yeah.
So I think this might be a pretty good time to jump back into what Chris was trying to allude to, and this is the sort of rabbit hole that I wanted to save for after a little bit more backstory of you. Can you tell people, you have really great ship designs. Your builds are very clean, they're very thoughtful. It looks like it takes a lot of time and design effort. Can you give us the quick, in a nutshell version, or the long-winded version if you feel like, how a design starts from like inception in your brain into a finished product, I guess?
Let's unpack everything.
He laughs because he knows it's a long process.
Oh, this is a good one.
Yeah, it depends how long you want to go. I would say generally. So first, just in terms of inspiration, I tend to use concept art. So I have, and I found that to be pretty common among space builders. So another fun thing to do is to run into another space builder and just compare libraries of images that we've captured. And so when I start a build, generally I'll start from concept art, and generally it's more than one thing. So it's sort of like a mood board. So multiple ships. I like the colors on this. I like the way this looks, and so on and so forth. So some process of picking those out. The build itself is almost, I would say it's almost sort of three phases of equal, 30%, 30%, 30% kind of thing. And the first third is all about just shaping and attempting to get the right feel for the ship without anything being connected. I guess we can dig into a little more in just a second. But the second third is all about then actually building a frame and making it something you can pick up off the table. And then the last third is then about polish and then revisiting for color and texture and doing the fun stuff, something like that. And then at the end, I've got some spaceship. So
some spaceship, just a masterful piece of art, but it's just some spaceship. That's really interesting.
So let's go with the first third.
Yeah.
Let's unpack that. So shaping is really important. So how do you start the shaping? Like with the concept art, do you just try and match like that piece of concept?
No, so usually, the concept art is there for inspiration usually. So I don't worry so much about making it look exactly like something else. And so what will happen in the shaping portion is I'll pick out things which I think are going to be interesting. So for example, a cockpit. So what might the glass look like? And it's very common for me these days to build a custom cockpit. And so I'll take windscreens and connect things and see what it feels like. Maybe there's a special thing about the engine or something I want to do special about the wings. And I'll just work on those independently. They in some cases all they are big long plates with hinges. Or mixel joints that are just making a shape on the desk, and I'm moving it around and taking some pictures to see what I like. But nothing is connected to anything else. It's just the contours of the ship with some interesting pieces.
Like very silhouette based, just making sure that like the actual shape that you want, like you're like, oh, that's like kind of the shape I was looking for. And then you worry about how to actually achieve it later. Is that kind of what you're getting at?
And yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah.
Okay.
So what I found is if I attempt to build from the inside out, by the time I get to the outside, it'll be, it's not what I want. It's very, very difficult to go and rework it. So you can think of it as a little bit from the outside in.
Gotcha.
So there's, so what's it going to look like on the outside? And that's the first third. It's very fluid and easy to change anything. Right.
That makes sense.
So.
And now once you start moving in the frame, you're trying to achieve. You can't change anything when you start going inside, right?
So the second pass or the second phase will be making the frame, and that means making it actually something that holds together and you can pick up, and that ends up being a lot of solving of it's problem solving. Yeah. So if the first phase is just creativity, what could it look like, and the second phase is all about problem solving, and some of that I really enjoy if it's going well, and some of it's really frustrating. It takes a lot of iteration and rebuild, and but ultimately it'll reach a point where it actually hangs together. It's a thing, and you can pick it up off the you can pick it up off the desk and look at it, and it feels strong and sturdy and supportive, and that's a pretty great moment. And then once that's done, then the outside's just iteration. So begin to play with plugging things in and out and reworking pieces, and I really enjoyed that. It's just sort of a polish phase. Yeah.
You did send us like for this interview, you did send us some photos of some like whips, something that you're working with. Do you have it near you? Like, do you have something that you could show us, like that's in that stage?
I do have something. I do have something I can show you, but it's close to the end.
It's cool. Wow. Okay. Progress.
He's been working hard.
Yeah, I didn't know that. So it's definitely changed from what you showed us on the photos.
Yeah. What I sent you was phase 2, probably. So
it was very rainbow though.
Well,
so like
Well, no, go continue.
It didn't have any color, so for those of our viewers, like, you build in rainbow, you don't actually work with the colors yet. You just try to get all the pieces together. Is that correct?
Yeah, for the most part, that's true. Yeah, until I get to the phase where where I'm polishing everything. I'm pretty well aware of what parts do exist. So working within the constraint of what's already made, a little bit like Lucien was talking about earlier. So I have some idea about what the colors are going to be and what's going to be possible. But I don't worry so much about if I don't have the parts. I spend so long on the ship, I'll just go get them. So later. So it's totally okay for me for it to just be a sort of a mess of colors, as long as the shaping is good and I can imagine where the color is going to go.
That's an interesting process. Is that a process that you've always sort of held true to, like in your building styles? Because I think a lot of people, at least for myself when I'm building a ship, like I have a hard time if I would try and build it rainbow and then have to go back afterwards. I always kind of want to see it like incrementally, like with the colors that I'd want. So it's really hard for me to wrap my brain around like how you've done that. Is that something you've always done, or?
No. As an adult, as soon as I started spending a lot more time on the ships,
Gotcha.
I've done it that way. Yeah, and part of that is, like I mentioned, I will go and procure the parts if I need to. I'm going to live with it forever, so it doesn't matter so much if I don't have all the parts. And my actual working collection, compared to many people's, not so big. So out of necessity, it ended up being rainbow. But the other thing is I rebuild it multiple times, so the components get built over and over again, trying to fix the geometry and to make it better, and that also just tends to be whatever colors I've got, rather than worrying at that stage about making it look correct.
That's so cool. I think a lot of people could take and learn from that as like you don't need the biggest collection. You can work with a lot of pieces you have and don't worry about color, and then you can make it like a finalized design, and then at that point you can be like, okay, what pieces do I need to pick up? And you could probably save time and money just in terms of like not wasting on extra pieces, because you've already just done the pre-process and then just redo it in the right color. So it's very cool.
I did get a sneak peek of what Nick did before, like I guess for the polishing stage in regards to what you were saying, but I was going to ask that next, but I'll let you finish your thought, Nick.
Oh, I was. What was I going to say? I just. It's kind of interesting you put it that way, Colin. It hadn't occurred to me that that might be efficient from a parts usage perspective. I was sort of feeling the opposite, that it was sort of ridiculous to go out and pick up the things I didn't have. So.
Oh no, I mean,
I like that. It's.
You can use it as justification for your wife if you need to. Like, these guys said it was efficient, so.
Yeah. There's plenty of people these days that work in CAD, right? And they'll just build it completely digital, and then we'll go order the parts. So there's something quite similar about that, I think.
Have you
but
played
I
with
just
that?
I just need to be. I've played with it, but I really enjoy touching the parts.
Yeah.
So I want it to be tactile, something which is physical. I want the click when things come together. I want to be able to see the geometry and turn it around and press it. And so in order for it to be sort of, I don't know, emotionally satisfying for me or something, fulfilling and fun and a stress relief, I want to touch it.
What are your thoughts on that, Nick, if you don't mind me asking? I think we're at like an interesting like precipice in terms of Lego's digital age, where previously we didn't have the best studios or programs to be able to work with for 3D Lego, and so I think all of us currently in this generation, all the previous generations, very much have that same mentality. Chris and I have talked about it. We don't even like the idea of trying to think of how to make something work in like stud.io or something. We just prefer the tactile feel. But saying that and just looking at history, that's just how life is. And so do you think that generations to come are going to be looking back and be like, oh, that's so old school. I can't believe they used to build with just the bricks themselves before, and not using the 3D program. Do you think that's a thing? Like, I don't know. I'm just spitballing right now, but I just feel like we might be the last old school generation of like people who feel that way, and they're like, oh, what, like old guys.
Perhaps to some extent. I think I do think that the people that even just work completely in digital, their creations are just magnificent, fantastic. So yeah, they can be massive and or quite small and intricate and fascinating. And I have tons of respect for the art, and it's totally fine for me whether it exists or not, even whether Lego makes the part or not in that color. It's all good. I think what we might see in the future there, Colin, is something where it really does become easy to create anything with any part. It's just, any part in any color, or some crazy parts that don't exist yet. I heard that come up earlier in the interview, and some of that I think is more where I feel the generational change coming. So I can see a ship that I made that I had to work around something missing, and now those parts are there, or that color is there.
Yeah.
And it's like ruins the perfection a little bit. It becomes a little bit something where you need the time. And you sort of need to understand the constraint in which it was built, as a bit of a frame, to understand some of what went into it, or to appreciate to a certain extent. I feel that with some of my older builds now.
Oh man, well, since we're still kind of in the phase 2 thing, how did you gain your understanding of the parameters of Lego, like what it can do? Like, how did you educate yourself in those types of techniques? Like, I guess like, what are the simple brick maths that you use and apply for all your builds?
So I think everyone these days knows this, just as the most basic thing when you get into it. But for me, it was sort of profound when I came back in as an adult to see the 5 plates equals 2 studs. So that was something where it had never occurred to me. I hadn't noticed it. I hadn't thought about building in that way. I hadn't noticed how well it worked. And then as an adult, I saw somewhere someone posted something. I was like, whoa, what? so that sort of magic ratio, I think for me, is at probably the heart of everything else, because once you understand that, you begin to play with it in many, many different ways. Understanding parts that allow you to change the direction and do various other things. But it all comes back to that plates, the 5 plates to 2 studs. That's probably the heart of it.
Is there a practical, like, simple example that you can give? I think a lot of people understand that, okay, yeah, it makes sense if, 5 plates will equals 2 studs wide, but maybe don't know how to implement it. Like, is there like a classic or simple way that they can start utilizing that just to get familiar with it if they're not already familiar with it?
I'm guessing most people are sort of intuitively know it, even if they hadn't gathered it these days. You see, Lego themselves are using it in the official sets, which they never used to do. But the kind of the one classic implementation, just to get just to mind blowing for me at the time, would be just taking a 4 by how to say, so 4 studs by 4 studs square with the center popped out, so just a 2 by 2 in the center. And then taking a stack of 4 plate or 2 by 2 plates and a tile on the top, which makes a perfect cube, right? And just popping it in and out of the center, from the side or from the top. It's
right, just that satisfying feeling, and the just application of being able to have that studless cube just fit into it, right?
Yeah.
Very interesting.
So the 2x5 rule is definitely something that Mary Ann also mentioned, like for mosaic builders.
That's true.
They use that rule. Like, where did you, did someone teach you the 2x5 rule, or was there a specific book that you ran into? I remember Mary Ann mentioned Bill Marks or something. Forgot what's.
It's been too long for me now. Yeah. So it was pretty soon after I came back in. As an adult, that I tripped over that, and I have some old work in progress stuff I took photos of where I can see I was just messing around with it. So so the internets of the time, maybe Lugnet or something. The you found someone somewhere has posted that, and then readily stole that and sort of ate it up. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Now going into the third phase of your style, right? Because you build with the parts available in your collection. I remember you showing me a sneak peek of your process where how you decide color, how you decide each section. Can you go into the detail of how you start polishing up after you figure out the frame? What does the outside look like? How can you kind of go into how you start finishing your model, which is to me is a masterpiece. I just, the way your mind works in finishing things, that's what I want everyone to kind of get an idea of.
It's just very, very kind for you. It's way too kind for you to say that, Chris. And that's firstly, and then second, I'm not quite sure exactly how to articulate that without images.
That's
but
true.
But in that phase, I will also take a lot of photographs. And partly I take the photographs because if I mess something up, I know I can get back to what it was before. It's too complex. It's too complex. Again, I don't think it's smart. It's just ridiculous. But I take a bunch of says tons of photos, and I will, when I'm not with the bricks, sometimes what I will do is just bring up Photoshop, which I understand well enough to be able to use to recolor things. And so I will take I will. It's also very enjoyable for me just to take the chip and then mark it up and then play with what the colors could look like. And there's a bunch of variations for that over and over again. And going back to my wife, she's used to me showing up and asking her, do you like A or B, A or B? And so some of that on the color work will definitely be done just on top of images. That I will then, when I get a chance to go back and touch things, I will implement and see what it looks like.
Right.
You seem to have a very systematic approach to your building, which is
why.
Which is really interesting. Well, I was gonna ask as well. So you have a very systematic approach. It seems like you have steps implemented and you have processes implemented to make sure that there are fail safes, as well as just you think about it very much like a product being designed. So I'm just curious, what influence have you had in your life? Could you describe to people maybe what you do for work, and if that has influenced you at all in any way, shape, or form, or what other sort of influences in terms of those processes might have affected you in your Lego building?
Yeah.
If you can talk about it.
No, it's all good. So work-wise, I'm in software engineering. So I work at PlayStation, and so I have a team. Yeah, so I have a team. We do the my department does the sort of all of the experience which surrounds gaming. So the UI that you see across various pieces, consoles and web and mobile and whatnot. Yeah, and so that's a classical software engineering problem. So lots of people working on complicated things over a long project. And so there is a system that goes into those things. There's process and structure and rigor and the way things have to evolve and get planned and get iterated upon and get tested and improved. And so to some extent, you might say that there's some relationships in what I do there and how it works with the Lego. The big difference, and I've thought of this one before, the big difference for me is the Lego one has no timetable.
Yeah,
there's no deadline.
Yeah.
And the Lego, and when I do something for work, it's done as a team. So there's a whole group of really talented people who are doing amazing things in conjunction with one another. So it becomes something bigger than what you could do as an individual. When I build, it's just me.
Curious.
And so a little bit for me, then I think the building is a bit of stress relief because it ends up being because it ends up being I can take as long as I want. There's no deadline, and if it's broken or there's a problem, it's my fault. It's not no one else.
Nobody else.
And there's no one else involved. I don't have to bother anybody else.
That's true.
And it's just sort of all on me. And so so that coupled with the touching it and it being tactile rather than it being something virtual.
I've got to ask then,
a little bit of that contrast is good for me.
Are you allowed to say, like, is your development environment within Sony PlayStation agile, waterfall, some sort of mix? Like, how do you guys actually do things? I'm curious to see, like, what influence you actually had.
Yeah, I want to stay away from you can imagine where the work one could go quickly where I can't talk about it. So, but we use a mix. Yeah, I use a mix. Okay. Yeah, and you are you in the software space? It's interesting you're asking that.
I do IT recruitment before this, so I speak to a lot of developers and a lot of those types of environments. So just out of curiosity, that's all.
Depending on the project, I've done that.
Fair.
You mentioned that you build for yourself, but you also do conventions. Do you ever put a little bit of pressure just to say, look, I really want to get this ready for this convention? Has that ever come up with you, or just if it's not ready, I'm not gonna push it? Have you ever done that?
Yeah, I have done that, and and I will tell you, it's actually quite interesting. I think when I've done that, in some ways the results are better. So because
nice.
Yeah. No, I do think constraint leads to creativity, right?
Okay.
So pushing. So while part of my brain may enjoy taking as long as I want, knowing that something is coming and I need to move more quickly and just get past it, which I've had to do a couple of times. Is partially uncomfortable, but I've been pretty happy with what the result looked like.
Follow-up question, if you don't mind, Chris.
Go for it.
So you just talked about constraint can lead to creativity, something that we have done by giving constraints to our viewers in terms of their builds with themes and such. You also mentioned the Vic Viper builds that have very specific, not maybe totally specific, but it needs to have this, this, and this. Do you ever, going into a build, ever give yourself just fake constraints, not fake ones, but just decide, I want to give myself these constraints for this build and then go from there, or are you looser than that with your builds?
It is really interesting question. Generally, it's looser than that. Sometimes, as I mentioned, for example, the telephone game activities. So that I'm working off a piece of inspiration, and when we did those, sometimes they would come with a seed part, a particular element that you would need to use, and so I sort of enjoy those constraints. But those are a little bit external, those are a little existential. They come from the outside. So I will, less about constraints, but I will sometimes push myself to make sure I'm doing something new. So I don't want it to just be the same kind of design that I've, or approach that I've done in the past. So if I find myself kind of getting too close to something I've done before, sometimes I will intentionally, forget about that. You got to try something different, do it a different way, make it look, kind of do something new. But that's less it's sort of a meta constraint to some extent, I suppose.
Well, that's cool. It's something I noticed in your builds actually while I was, editing your photos, looking through your Flickr, is that you do have a very varied silhouettes in your builds. It's really cool that you kind of think that, hey, I've done something like this, so let's go somewhere else. And I think that's just really good for creativity, imagination, as well as learning building techniques. So that's kind of just a shout to the community to maybe, sometimes think of that as well.
Just think outside the box kind of thing.
Well, yeah, just don't let yourself get into your own rut, right? Or your own groove. like we all have niches that we tend to fall into, or even design patterns that we tend to fall into. So it's really cool to think that that Nick sort of like steps back a little bit, looks at it, and says, okay, this might be veering towards a design I've done before.
Yeah.
So let's step back a little bit and redesign it so that I can get something new. So I really appreciate that sort of ideology, I guess.
Yeah, I think, Colin. And I will say there are so many that do that so much better than me. Where build
You're
to
humble.
build, it's
So
completely
humble.
no, but build to build completely different. And I'm still building. I mentioned minifig scale spaceships. So,
Right.
But you just do them so well, Nick. You do them so well.
Thank you very much.
Now, I was wondering too, like with regards to colors, right? Like, is there a particular schedule that you have? Like, oh, I haven't done that yet. Like, do you have like a list of spaceship colors that you really wanted to try out, but you're just waiting for a piece to be released? Like, how do you decide your color?
So I like, first of all, I like color. I really like color. I like the interplay between colors. I tend to use more colors these days than I did, 10 years ago.
Right.
The colors will come somewhere between phase 1 and phase 2, I suppose. And I'll be thinking about that along the way. And this cockpit, this bit of geometry, this thing on the wing, and so on and so forth. What parts are available? And what could I do? And I'm usually eager to try something new on the color side. So if there's an opportunity to use a color I haven't used before or I use rarely, I'll jump on that. But the color spectrum is pretty broad these days. It's so.
Nick, do you feel, and again, this might just be an opinion, do you feel that, because you mentioned within the last, let's just use the 10-year time frame. So within the last 10 years, say from the beginning till now, the beginning you used less color. Do you feel like you used less color because it's easier? Because sometimes like working with color can be difficult. Sometimes they clash. Sometimes they're just not whatever. So do you feel like you just used less color then and just highlighted with it because it was easier, and then as you became comfortable with color, you started implementing it more and more until you had like a really good understanding of how they work together? Or is that just not how that actually happens?
I think it's not so far away from how it happens. Yeah.
Okay.
So at some point along the way, even I had someone point out to me, so another spaceship builder that I respect a lot, I was showing him one of my ships, and he said, and I told him I'm not super happy with this one. It was a couple years after I built it. And he said, "Oh, maybe it's because it's just the two colors."
Oh, just like that, eh?
I was like, "That's exactly right." And now I can see that versus this, and I think that's true. So there's a little bit of intention behind that. There's also some accident and just evolution. Just more colors arrived, and there's more that's possible.
So we have a relatively young audience, and Creator Industries and Chris and I as a whole, we do like to aim and target towards young builders to help foster and create the Lego community of tomorrow.
Yeah.
So is there any advice that you can give to young builders? Because that's one of the first things that I think really like flips in terms of young builders, goes from rainbow to being like, wait a minute, I can block color, or I can just use only gray and it'll look better than the rainbow.
Yes.
Are there any tips that you can give? So you're like, I only used 2 colors, it didn't look great. Like, is there like a formula, like one base color that's like black, gray, or white plus like one color, or like what could you describe to like younger builders to help them evolve their color theory in terms of Lego building?
Oh, that's interesting. To some extent, by the way, I will use color. I will use color wheel.
Yes, that's important.
So you can easily pick one of those up on the internet, and if you start to play with multiple colors, you can spin it around and find things which are complementary. So that's a good thing to play with. I think underneath the color, the bit that the thing that, again, I hit on this, but the extent to which you're going to keep it forever and you spend a long time on it.
Yeah.
So trying that even just for one build,
yeah,
to go back and iterate on it, to build it and then immediately build it again better, and to really stick with it a bit, I think could be a fun exercise. I've had some friends who are super talented builders in their own right that have tried that and found it to be kind of playful and came out with some pretty pretty surprising results.
Chris.
I had a question like with regards to that story that you told about the colors. So are there any prolific builders in the spaceship community that like you can mention in this, like that really inspired you to push yourself to be better as a spaceship builder? Can you like tell our audience, check these guys out, like they might help you?
So if the yeah, it's actually fairly. So the in the spaceship community, you can probably ask 10 spaceship builders who the best builder is, and 8 of them will tell you it's Dos Newton. So Dos Newton, yeah, it's a handle on Flickr. It's a builder, but his name is Rob, and he's the one that told me the color. But so extremely strong builder. So I enjoy his work. It comes out very rarely because he spends a long time on it. But
just
it's
like you.
yeah. His is more, his design, his geometry is less complex, but his design sense is stronger. It's very good. I enjoy his work a lot. Yeah, Red Space Cat, so Stein, the Dutch builder. So his work is, so another space builder that I admire a lot. His work is very clean. And it looks different from mine, but I like it. I like it a lot. Yeah, really awesome. Yeah. So and then there's a builder out of Germany. His handle is Coal Black. So another. Yeah. So and he does a wide variety of styles, sci-fi and other things. And he's like a graffiti style kind of work with Lego. He will paint bricks and cut things and pushes the limits intentionally. Very artistic.
Very much as a medium.
I found yeah, and so Coal Black and Black BLAQ, and yeah, and I found his work to be very inspiring when I was first coming back in, and now for sure, he's just awesome. So there's 3 for you.
Perfect. Thank you.
We're 5:07. We started a little bit late, so or if you're okay, we'll push it a little bit later for the viewers, so we don't have to cut you off early. But I did want to start jumping into a few of the community questions, if you're okay with that, Nick. Unless, Chris, is there anything else on your plate that you wanted to get out before we let Nick go? Are you sure?
Let the community ask their question because they've been dying to talk to Nick.
Okay.
So let's give them some free reins and Nick, let's answer some questions.
Might just wait for the passing cart. And Nick, one of the questions was, what is your favorite spaceship build bin to date? So when you go look at your case, which one does your eye get drawn to the most?
Your collection. Is there a favorite?
Don't worry, they don't have feelings. They're not like children.
They do have feelings.
They have souls.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Have souls.
You know what? It's actually kind of. I think about that. I think most builders think about that. And a really nice moment is where I build something new and I think I like it better than the previous best.
I guess.
So that's happened to me over time. The two that I guess I'll just pick one. So there's a ship called Ataraxis that I did a couple of years ago. Yeah,
what color is that one?
It's white. It has.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do I want to pull it out of the case? So it's. I'll pull it out of the case for you quickly if you have time.
Oh,
I'll just
sure.
show
Of course we have time. No, absolutely. We'd love the visual on it. So.
Okay,
Thanks,
just 1 second.
Guys, while Nick has stepped away from the headphones and the camera really quick just to grab the build, if you have any further questions, we would love for you then to throw them down into the Twitch chat. We would love to have a few more so that we can pick his brain.
That one. That's a good one.
Let's see if the timing is right and it comes up on the stream as well as he brings it up. This is very cool build.
Yeah, this might be my favorite at the moment, but there's several that I.
Could you describe what makes it your favorite? What is it? Just the design that you ended up creating? Is it this individual elements, color scheme, silhouettes?
Oh, it's you know, I'm systematic, but I'm not that systematic. For, but I do think the silhouette for this one came out great.
It's really
I
cool.
really like what happened with the geometry. With the
That's
color,
the favorite part.
with this color work. The offset here is really nice. I went pretty crazy with these bricks, these slopes with the studs on the edge, and got some cool work, and then you know even projected it up here into the back with the angling on it. So I think the overall, there's a lot of the geometry in this one that I thought came out was pretty elegant. So
and it's
for whatever reason, altogether it's satisfying.
No, it's awesome. It's an absolutely great and satifying build. So
I was gonna say I love the minifigs that you always choose to put in there because they always seem to have their own personality. Like it almost as if you have a universe built in your mind. You're like, I want to make these type of pilots go in there for that reason. It seems intentional to me. That's all. But I don't know if I don't know if that was just accidental. That's all.
The next question.
Sorry. Go ahead, Colin.
No, just answer, Chris. Sorry.
Oh, the minifigs usually come late, but I do enjoy picking them out and deciding. Playing with the color of the suits and all that stuff as well. So.
I kind of figured.
That's a nice final touch too, and it's a little bit less stressful. It doesn't have like. Yeah. It's fun, but not as like.
I always
intense.
thought that Nick, like, I had this suspicion that Nick would put himself in there,
maybe
like, as a minifig, but he doesn't have like a signature face. Like he doesn't have, like a 666.
Thank you, Chris.
I've never seen you have your own minifig other than
Nick, you can't let him live that down for the rest of his life.
Oh man!
I think what you meant is Nick's like style of face you just haven't seen, or he hasn't utilized.
It's all. I knew what you meant. It's all good.
Cool.
I'm gonna remember that.
The challenge is out there, guys. Could someone please put together a Nick minifig that we can have for future?
Hardest blue minifig.
Okay, we'll move on past that awkward statement and into the next question. The next question, I gotta read between the lines because I'm not sure exactly which way it was trying to go for. I'll read the question verbatim and then I'll read what I think it might be meaning. Is there any template for the builds? And so I'm not sure if they're asking if you ever have like a standardized template that you might start from, or if they mean, are there templates for other people to be able to like build off of, kind of like maybe instructions. So I'm not sure which way that question is going, but...
I talked a lot about process. Maybe I'll take the second interpretation.
Sure, let's do that. Yeah.
So, yeah. So the I mentioned I don't like to. I don't find a lot of satisfaction through using CAD myself.
Sure.
But other people have come by afterwards for some of the builds. Actually, for many of them these days, on YouTube, I'll show how all of the parts come together so you can rebuild it. And
okay, cool.
and often, frequently these days, someone will then pick that up and make a CAD file. And
nice.
And so if you go to the YouTube channel, you pick a build, and I try to link it in there if someone has done it, and so you can grab that. Yeah, you can grab that and then get to the parts list, as well as reference that instead of having to sit through my long boring video to see how it all fits together and rebuild it.
It's
30
not boring
minutes
at all.
is not boring. It's
not.
like it's the best tutorial you can see, and like there's a fast version and there's a long version, and it's just
the fast version's fast version's fine. The long version the long version's pretty intense. But people have digitized those, and if you pick up one of those and you want to try something, that could be a place to begin.
Very cool. I love the community coming together to do that too.
I guess this is something that Adele told us, his wife. They
Secrets?
mentioned that somebody reverse engineered Nick's ships. Like he in order to understand how Nick builds, just watch his videos and just follow it along. And that's kind of pretty much in a nutshell how you can kind of understand Nick a little bit better. Is that safe to say? Like I remember.
Yeah, I think if you're interested in the geometry, then I would suggest find some part of it. Doesn't have to be my ship, but find some part of something that someone has done and attempt to replicate it. I think that's a pretty a kind of an awesome experience. That's a good way to learn in general, right?
Yeah.
And the kind of amazing thing about this community is you're building in a medium where anyone could do that. You just pick up the same parts.
Exactly.
Totally.
That's true.
The next question is kind of funny. How do you feel about being the final guest on BuildCon 2020?
Wow. Are we ending it already?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, he's the final guest. He's.
I will say unworthy. How's that?
No way. No, it has been an honor.
We are not worthy. We are butt worms groveling at your feet.
I mentioned to you, Colin, just in the minutes when we were spinning up. Yeah, I had a chance. I'll go back and catch more of it on YouTube later, but I had a chance to watch today's interviews, and lose Sam right before me. It was so impressive. I really, really, really enjoy every time seeing his work and hearing hearing how he thinks about it. So it's good. Yeah, really nice. Yeah, really nice set of lineup.
That's good. Well, we appreciate the kind words. I'm just going to scroll through here. There's a lot of conversation. I just want to see if I can pluck out anything else. Chris, if you have any other questions, go for it. In the meantime...
No, I mean, I know Nick really well.
I know you do.
I don't think he wants to talk to me as much.
Probably
after that
not.
Comment.
Oh, that's true.
I can show you one. I can show you one new thing if you have time.
Yes,
if you want to do that, happy to bring that over.
Yes,
please do that while I just grab the next.
Shall we do that?
Question?
Yes, please.
Please, thank you. There's a couple of good ones left over here.
I really want to see the shelf, the Nick's shelf collection. Oh,
well, that's his workstation.
Oh, that
on the other side.
Oh, I thought it was this one. What's this one?
Maybe that's where he encroached.
The shaping on this. Look at this.
I also love the stands that he ends up creating for them. It feels so.
Yeah, I think we should ask about how he chooses his stands.
Okay, so I'm not sure how well this will come through in camera, but this is you mentioned earlier I sent you some work in progress shots.
Whoa!
Oh.
So
Nick.
this is. So.
It's progressed a lot, Nick. Like this is no joke. Oh my god.
Yeah.
You haven't posted this at all?
No, it still has some problems. I'm still.
Are you serious? What are you talking about?
Guys, this has problems. What?
No, I'm still waiting for some parts. So. But this is the way this one came out. So.
Very cool.
It's got the cockpit's kind of interesting. It's got
I really like
built again, and and then the wing bit. I don't know to what extent. So it's again, if I just hold it straight out, you can see it's canted down.
Please.
Should be okay. And then I'll just.
Oh my god!
It's got a cut through the center that was pretty interesting, dude. So the opening and then the engine bit. If I spin this around, this from the back.
Oh, you ordered those parts yourself? The chrome? Like.
Oh yeah. I started picking up chromed parts. So there's other people doing that. So.
Wow.
That's really cool.
So,
we were just talking about with Robin Sather's the cost of chrome parts for Lego themselves versus other parts. So I'm sure they're not cheap for you to pick them up.
Do you have a name for this one yet, Nick?
You know what? I'll reveal that when I post it.
Sounds
perfect.
No, that's
we got enough of it already. So
amazing.
Yeah, I do have. The stand is still waiting for some parts, but you mentioned that it's kind of this one's kind of interesting. If I can do this with my left hand. So it's canted in two ways. So I don't want to put this down. So many of my stands, so they hold the ship at a slant, basically like at an angle. And then this one, and so that's what the transparent parts are doing.
Yeah.
But then the overall ship also stand cuts. This one comes over again that way.
Cool.
So it's when it's set up correctly, I'm pretty happy with the way this came out. It looks pretty nice from the kind of rear 3/4 sort of shot.
That's so cool.
That's
How
next
level.
How do you choose your stands? Like, how do you design your stands specifically for each build? Do you have like
probably another 6-month process of iteration?
Or are they fairly easy to like figure out?
I tend to use the same big technic lift arms in TransClear, and I have sort of an idea of how they're supposed to work. And I mentioned the bookcase earlier.
Yeah.
So I will engineer the stand so that the ship can fit in the bookcase. So that's why it's in particular this one's big enough that in order for it to fit in the bookcase, it's going to be almost vertical.
I see.
Which is why it has to cut in the other dimension.
Does the bookshelf have individual places for each, or are there some shelving units that actually have them next to each other And if there are, is this tilted in 2 ways to avoid hitting another one? Is that why?
It's tilted in 2 ways because I need it to go back in order to fit in the shelf because it's not very deep.
Gotcha.
But then I don't want to just photograph it back. That's not how I built it. So it does it tilts the normal way as well. For
Gotcha.
so cool. For photography, or if I eventually can bring it somewhere.
That's definitely by far my favorite, Nick.
Very cool. That's really nice.
Amazing.
That's very kind.
That's you worked on that during quarantine? Like that's been...
yeah. So I started this in April.
Must have been really fun. It must have been really nice just to chill and like that. Did you get a chance to chill, or did you still work during quarantine?
I have a big project at work.
Okay.
This is not a chill year.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
The thing about developers and stuff like that, they can do it from
they
everywhere.
Don't stop working,
they don't
I guess.
stop. Okay, next question. Someone asked, "Will you participate this year in September?"
Oh, absolutely not.
that was a quick no, but we tried.
Yeah. If I do that, I won't finish until 2028. So
that
no.
sounds like a good.
That's
that's
okay.
a good challenge.
As long as it starts and ends in September, maybe they'll take it.
Man, but can you imagine a September Nick scale? That could be like, that's pretty much. I don't even know what would that turn into, Nick. A 10-year project, basically, 100 studs.
Yeah, if it could just be produced, that would be great. But to only work on one thing for that long is
I know, right?
It's beyond what I can do. I don't think it'll be satisfying.
Well, speaking of things you can and can't work on, if you were no longer allowed to build spaceships, what would you build?
No longer allowed.
I don't know who would tell him that, but if you were no longer able to build spaceships for whatever reason,
if they couldn't. So the cheating answer is if they couldn't fly, I'm perfectly happy to make it work on the ground. So I'll build sci-fi vehicles.
Sci-fi vehicles.
But But getting at the heart of that, I would go to Castle.
Oh, cool.
I used
Castle.
I used a million years ago. I used to like that. So
have you ever thought about taking a step back? Because I think it would be a really interesting. Have you ever thought about like maybe making like a quarter a year, so like 3 months a year, where you do something outside of shipbuilding with the same process? I think for the community it'd be really interesting. I think maybe for your building techniques it'd be interesting. Like for these 3 months, I'm not going to touch a ship. What I'll do is I'll go through my same iterative process and build a castle. Have you done that? That'd be so interesting to me.
I haven't done that. I like the idea. I would especially like if it was something collaborative, and work with some other people. That could be pretty great. But at the end of the day, I don't think it would be as good. And and I kind of like it to feel satisfying in the sense that it was pretty nice. So
I guess sticking to your passions is the best way to make good creative things, though. Like you'll always be more passionate and more into it.
Have you ever worked on a collaboration before, Nick? Like, has any other than the telephone game?
Yeah, I have. So I've done a couple for conventions. So one of them in BuildCon 2013, the one that I went to for the first time, like when I came back into it. There was a collaboration called Keith Goldman and Mike Rutherford organized called Hub 14.
Yes.
And where everyone made little spaceships, and then other people worked on the landing area and brought in, populated it with tons of fun aliens and so on and so forth. Yeah. And that was awesome. I really enjoyed that. And there was a timetable. I had to finish it quickly. So.
Oh, that's cool. We had you would probably know somebody from Edmonton that worked on that too, Sam Malberg, Groovy Bones.
Yeah,
he was on there too. So
cool.
Yeah, it was pretty cool to have him be featured on. I remember he was so excited about that. So that was a very cool collaboration. It's massive.
Yeah. We met lots of people, including Sam, that were just amazing. So.
2 really good questions, and the second one is from the Messi Maro Lucim himself. The first one, and I'm gonna.
Okay. When we get to his question, I have something else I need to do. But go ahead. Colin.
Okay. The first question, I'm gonna reword it just a little bit, because it said best bricks for spaceships, but I'm gonna reword it to, if someone had to pick up like 3 pieces that you think are like game changing for spaceship building, what do you think those pieces might be?
Oh, you know what? I like that you made it more than one, because the default answer is the washing machine again.
Yeah. Well,
The washing machine.
Yeah.
but that's already been like well talked about. It's gone through the washing machine in our chat for like the last 2 hours. So.
Yeah. So with that out of play, these days for geometry, I really like inkwells.
Okay.
Yeah. Just a second.
Yeah,
Yep,
sure.
no worries. Guys, sorry we're going to be going overtime a little bit. We cannot let Nick go. He's so good, and he's such a wealth of information. We just have so much fun talking. We also don't want BuildCon to end, honestly. So I mean,
give away prizes.
we're gonna have prizes, and we've got the season 3, so that's gonna be really fun too.
Is that clear enough?
Oh, that yes.
Those are called inkwells.
Very interesting piece. I love it.
Maybe they're called something else, but
No, they're called inkwells now.
They're called inkwells now. Inkwells and washing machines.
So that part is awesome. So that with clips, you can do a lot of really fun things.
Oh,
so
that makes sense.
Yeah, I tend to enjoy those.
You can reverse build now, basically, right?
Yeah, you can easily change. You can easily flip stud direction.
Very cool.
In cool ways. And then the other one, I guess I would maybe with that slope that I was showing you that I used on the Ataraxis ship. Okay. So it's basically a 3x4x5 triangle with the studs on the outside. So,
gotcha, yeah.
So Lego doesn't produce that one anymore. But that is so nice.
Nice.
From a piece of geometry.
Do you hoard them, or do you like bulk buy them off Bricklink so that like do you have a corner market on that share?
I don't want to talk about that.
If you guys notice the price increasing, who's stocking.
Even the trans-clear link arms, like the Technic link arms, I'm always curious. Like, how do you can't find those anywhere? So
those are not uncommon.
They aren't.
They might have even come back in a set recently. So
interesting.
I know what you're saying, that Chris, but that these days there are more available of those. I've noticed.
Okay.
So
they're coming back. Okay, we'll have to. I mean, they're really nice partner stands.
So Messi Mario or Lucim asked a question, and we may have touched on it a little bit. I'm not sure exactly, but he asked, what part of the spaceship design process makes or breaks the entire build for you?
That's a good one. That's a good one.
That's a great question, and I interestingly, I think it is the very beginning. I think it's the beginning. I think it's that first phase. What are the main components going to look like, and how are they going to, again, the cockpit, the engine, whatever it is that build for me is about, and that's going to make it unique and special. If that comes out well, then everything else is downstream from that. If that turns out to not be very interesting, or the shape doesn't look good, then I end up resetting or throwing it away, or at the end coming back to, what I don't like is that thing that I did on day number 2, and that's like a slightly unfortunate place to be.
Yeah, that's okay.
Well, for anyone who doesn't work in that sort of like very iterative process, or having that early stage phase 1, it's very important to have that, because you can save a lot of time and hassle if you can just get it out of the way in that one. You're like, yeah, this isn't going to work.
Yeah, the old, I didn't always do that, or I wasn't always as intentional about that, and then the result could be a different thing, which was, to Lucim's question, make or break decisions you made at the beginning you didn't realize were going to have consequence for the end, because now you're coming back and you want it to look a certain way or do a particular thing, which would be really satisfying, but it's impossible, because too much of it is built out, and it all has to be reset.
Got it.
So, I one more for Lucim. I do have this.
Oh, you do?
Oh, he does.
Oh
have
my
it.
god.
I do, and it's signed.
Oh no!
Are you serious?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
man.
I am serious, and it lives in the, and it's fantastic, and it lives in the bookcase.
That's so
So-
awesome.
I gotta get me a hard cap. Where was that, Nick? Was that in Japan?
That was at Japan. Yeah, Japan
That's so
Brickfest
cool.
last year.
We all have to make
You-
a trip
You
out
didn't
together.
build a mech, did you, for that event, or was it a spaceship?
No, I didn't build a mech, but but that if I don't know, did Lucia mention this? If you're interested in mech building, that is the convention to go to.
Mm.
So in addition to Messimaru, it's the you get all of the Japanese and builders, and it's just like stunning. It's really impressive.
What's the event called?
Yeah, can you say the name of the
Yeah.
event again? I'll just type it in the chat for them.
Oh, that's Japan Brickfest.
Japan
So
Brickfest.
yeah, it's in Kobe, and it tends to be, should have been in June. It's in June every year. I've only been once. We went last year. I would have gone back again this year if it wasn't for COVID trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
For sure.
Well, that actually was the last question that we had from the chat for now.
Sweet.
So, I mean, as much as I don't want to, I think we're going to have to wrap up BuildCon in terms of our guest speakers.
Nick,
Nick, it was an
thank you.
absolute pleasure to have you on board. Thank you
guys,
for letting us
thank
pick
you.
your brain. Like,
It's
Yeah,
been an
thank you very
honor.
much for having me. Thank you so much for having me. I thoroughly enjoyed the conversation.
Great.
absolutely.
Thank you for being here.
Fantastic.
Stay on the line. We'll say goodbye in just a moment.
Guys, we are going to be back in a couple seconds here. We're just going to say a quick goodbye to Nick. What we are going to do for you is just play the quick behind the scenes again. We won't run it too long, but we are going to be back with a special segment, and this is going to be a live Creators React. If you guys have watched us on YouTube, you've seen the Creators React videos that we do to your builds. And for this one, we're doing Season 3 winners. We're going to go through all 9 winners that we chose, live reactions for you guys. So stay tuned. That'll be coming up in just a second.
It says all not available.
Sorry, just everything says not available right now. Could I get 2 chicken McMuffins?
For sure.
And a large orange juice?
Large orange juice. Would you like that a hash brown?
No, thank you.
Okay, for sure.
Are you getting anything, Colin?
That's everything for you? 785?
No, it's not everything. Sorry, I'm just waiting for the rest of my
Okay.
entourage.
Do you want anything? I'm okay. I had breakfast.
Oh, serious?
Yeah. I had
Nobody's getting anything?
Well, actually, can you give me a egg McMuffin? I'll
And
get
an
one.
Egg McMuffin.
Oh, no, sorry. A chicken McMuffin.
Oh, sorry, lied. So a chicken McMuffin.
Do you want 2?
Sure.
She wants another one. Let's get.
Sorry.
Okay, so it's gonna be 5 chicken McMuffins.
How many?
5.
5?
Yes.
Okay. Any drink?
Any drinks? Any drinks?
No,
no drinks.
Okay, just the orange juice. Just the one orange juice, thanks.
For sure. Any hash brown for you?
I don't think so.
No.
1569.
Oh, okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, McDonald's.
Thanks, McDonald's. I'll thank them later when I'm on. Whoa, not the butterfly.
Where?
No, it's on my window now.
Oh, you hit a butterfly. So, Colin and I have figured out all the prizes, and we're also talking about Jaego. Jaego is still on our roster. It's about 2 to 3 weeks away, depending on when this video is going to get released. But we are thinking for Jaego, we're going to do like an introduction video, and yeah, just something funny. Thinking about talking like robots. I don't know.
Humor.
Humor. Like humus. It's like, what the heck is humus? I remember saying that at Walmart one time. Like, ma'am, I can't wait to have some humus. This lady, humus, and like I remember she just heard me say so many times. It's like, what is humus? Like every day, I'm like, you'd say humus and carrots because I started liking humus. hummus and carrots. I just called it humus, and one day she was just triggered. Chris, I have no idea what you're saying. I think that's a venereal disease or something. Like, is something wrong with you? What is humus? I'm like, it's H-U-M-M-U-S. That's hummus. That is hummus. Why do you call it humus? I'm like, I don't know. I just thought that's what it was. Like humidity. Like hue.
One time Chris thought that a balaclava was actually the dessert baklava. And someone asked him for a balaclava for Christmas as part of their Christmas gift, and he went to the bakery looking for baklava. Like the Turkish, is it Turkish or like the Lebanese dessert?
Lebanese dessert. Oh man. Yeah, can you imagine unwrapping? It was like, oh, it's like great. It's the same size of the box. But the moment he opened it, he's just like, oh, what is this? I was like, yes.
No, I asked for a balaclava.
Oh, I was missing a few vowels. This is what happens because I skim through things. I don't read them often, and I miss a couple of vowels.
You very much skim through things.
Oh man, this is why Colin's awesome because he actually reads.
Oh, dude, that's so fun. I can't believe that was a long time ago. That was like 10 years ago.
Oh my god, yeah. That handicap button, and then he touched his face.
Oh, nice.
Like he did this.
There's these two girls in a car and they were passing by. Yeah. And they were just like smiling and laughing, and then they looked over and then like they didn't look at me, they looked at Colin at the front, and then they looked at the kid and they like giggled, and I'm like oh. And I was like, oh yes,
why
hello.
are you recording?
How would you know?
Get it again.
What?
Get it again.
Are you recording?
Yes.
We literally just saw a guy come here, touch the handicap sign, and Chris said he immediately went and rubbed his face. That is not how you prevent the spread of COVID.
Don't touch your face.
You first.
entirely through, so it normally ends up near the front so people can see in it.
Perfect.
And then yeah, we just do bigger and bigger so the scale of the city looks like it gets massive.
Oh, glad. So after you're done setting up, one of the things that we'll be asking for is like a headshot.
Yeah.
As well as maybe we could take it in the yellow room. We'll see. Headshot and just a little info about you, because we're gonna be creating like creator things, just for you guys. So
sweet.
Yeah. And so far, do you have anything?
At the very least, it'll be good for Reddit.
Oh yeah.
And then yeah, just have it go over two corners. That way.
Easy. Perfect. Thanks. Yeah, no worries. Thanks.
is a vehicle. Alright. So we got Tom here with his spaceship. It's about 10 feet tall. No, 10 feet long. Sorry. I guess we about. So Tom's just unloading. We did ask for help. Like if you wanted help, but
It's safer to not touch it.
we're just gonna be rolling it out. GPS inception.
Yes.
Is this a Star Wars?
Or is it?
We are back.
Woo! Woo, woo, woo! We are back. Man, that was
intense.
That was a great 3 days of builders. Like,
What a wrap up.
yeah, what a way to wrap it up. I'm glad that Nick was cool with staying on a little bit later. Hopefully you guys got some extended value from him. I know that we did. Each and every person that came on board had something interesting and unique to be able to provide for the community. And if you guys, again, missed day 1, day 2, or the beginning of day 3, please go back onto YouTube after we post it. Subscribe now.
Yes.
Hit that notification bell. Like, thumbs up, everything you can see, just so you guys can help push us farther up and beyond, so that we can continue producing content. But all the interviews are going to be there, so you can watch them, except for Adam dodges, because I accidentally forgot to hit record.
Don't bring that up.
Well, I gotta let them know. I'm so
sorry.
sorry. It's my fault. I take responsibility. But we have season 3 winners coming up. We did a month-long, no theme final contest for you guys. 3 categories, 3 winners. Shall we do it?
Let's do it. Starting with.
We're gonna start with A falls, T falls, and with the kids category.
Yep.
Let's see what we got. Currently, you have my desktop, which is on purpose. So.
Messi Mario just subscribed.
Thank you, Messi. Thank you, Lou. We really appreciate it.
So this is a Creators React, a series that we react to all of the entries, and yeah, just thanking everybody, giving them some creative feedback on all their entries.
We're not actually doing the full Creators React. We're just doing the winners today. Otherwise, we'd be here for hours, and we don't think you guys would want to see that.
Your guys' creations.
We will do a full Creators React once we are back in town, once we are back home, and we can do that properly. So here we go. We're going to start with A Falls, and I'm just going to full screen this really quick, and we can talk about what we've got for builds.
I can't believe it. BuildCon is over.
Boom. Here we go.
First winner. Here we go.
So the first winner that we have for the season 3 adult category might be actually a familiar face, because he actually did submit this before we had him on the BuildCon stream, and his name is Adrian Piqueras, and he is from Spain, and what he created was called Mocky Kid. So it's a play on the word Monkey Kid, which is the theme, as well as mock, my own creation. Yes. So it's not a typo, it's actually called Mocky Kid. So if you guys are interested in seeing more about this build, there's also a bunch of video, or there's a video that he created that you guys can go and take a look at. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop through these photos for you guys, and we can talk about what we really like about it. First of all, one of the big things that Chris mentioned before is that it's a from box to mocks.
Yeah.
So he'd used the Monkey Kid set and only did the creation based off of that. So he was limited in terms of that, but he was also incredibly limited in terms of time. I think he only took like
a couple weeks.
I don't even know if it was a full couple weeks,
maybe,
really.
Maybe a week, because I remember when we were talking with Adrian, he said, I really want to enter this contest, and also I wanted to animate it. So he did create a video which was playing in his interview.
Absolutely. So he created this and created an animated video for us, and we were also fortunate to have him on the stream. So that's really cool. But the build overall is really fun. He did a really good job in terms of getting everything together.
He had a vehicle and a mech as well. Yeah, fantastic build.
So we don't have to spend as much time because he actually
he did a lot of graphics.
He did a lot of graphics for it. So, or is that's not the actual set, is it?
Which one?
Is this the actual Monkey Kid set?
I think it could be. No, he altered it from what I remember.
I'm just looking in the back. Oh no, that's just his picture.
No,
Perfect. There we go. Cool. Anyway, that's the Monkey Kid set. Monkey Kid build, really cool. Adrian, you were an amazing guest as well as an amazing builder and an absolutely fantastic animator. But we're going to move on because we talked about him a lot. So we'll
Yes.
move on to other people. So the next one we have, his name is Lee.
Yeah.
He's age 19. He's from Taiwan, and
Congrats, Lee.
this is the breaching whale. So this is a really, really
It's
cool
so
build.
mesmerizing.
Like, this looks like a piece of like something you'd see in like someone's like high-end home. They just have this little cool little statue, like as a piece of art. Like I would love to have this on my
I
work
could see
desk.
this in a museum.
Yeah,
If
like
it was more upscale, but this is it's a really nice vignette. It captures a moment. It captures movement, and with movement, I'm talking about as simple as just stacking up trans blue 1x1 studs.
yeah.
So
I mean, something as simple as that it creates a lot of movement. The pieces, if you guys are on full screen and looking closely, a lot of great use of slope parts along with some tentacle / fang parts to be able to wrap around the body. We learned a lot about those kinds of techniques with Joss as well as Andrew.
Yeah.
They described a little bit more about using those kinds of pieces for fillers to help organic shapes. So just another great representation of a builder who utilizes that to the max. You also,
and it's also out of the box too. Like
Yeah.
you're literally capturing something from nature, and it's so elegant.
absolutely. So another great shot of the water here. He did some simple aesthetics, great execution. Here's from the backside, so you can actually see that it's not self-standing fully. It actually has a small brace underneath of it, or a stand to hold it up. So it's probably meant to be viewed from the front underside, the bright white, and so you can kind of see the secrets behind it with this with the stand here, which is really cool.
The photos were really well taken too, because he used a black background to blend it in, and also too, like what we learned from Joss, he was just using black cardboard, and he was teaching us about like how simple objects, like a simple cardboard and great lighting, being outside under the shade,
Or even using your phone,
or even your
like
phone,
to cast a dramatic lighting is really, really cool. But Lee, if you guys remember, or if
From
you guys
Malaysia.
haven't seen Taiwan,
Taiwan, sorry.
go back to our previous Box to Mox. You can actually see some of his previous work. He did, I think, a bubble tea or a boba tea like mech and a walking fried chicken with it, something like that. Very cool, and a very
I'm glad you came back for season 3.
yeah, really smart builder.
Oh, and last but not least, for this category, we got Nathan from the USA.
Age 20.
Age 20.
Nathan is just another great builder in terms of like organic and biological builds, and he is young in terms of the scene.
Yeah.
He's got a long AFOL career ahead of him. We've been impressed with his builds time and time again. But this one, he depicted a lot. He depicted a lot of shape, emotion, color, and movement in a relatively simplistic build. It's not overly complicated in terms of the pieces or the piece count, but he really understands how to use few pieces and convey movement. He did the jellyfish, correct, Chris? So if you remember underwater from not from Box Mox.
From season 1?
Season 1 theme, underwater. He did jellyfish, which also created a lot of movement with a surprisingly few amount of parts.
So one of the cool comments, one of the things that we've noticed, one of the comments that Josh and Andrew were talking about was they were integrating Bionicle parts with Lego, and Nathan does it really well. He's actually, done a great job, especially with the color blocking and the color choices that he used for this specific creation. But this alligator warrior looks fantastic. Crocodile warrior?
Really cool. Yeah, I'm not sure. Anyone know where this green vine piece came from? Chris, do you know? Is this actually like supposed to be connected there, or did he find something else that just happens to fit over top of that?
I don't know. Maybe somebody in the comments will say something, but I don't know what that. It looks like a rubber piece, but I can't.
It does look like a rubber piece.
What does it say there? Oh, head is from Chima.
Head is from. Is that what you're thinking?
Oh no, I'm just reading the comments, but yeah.
I know people were asking. Do you know if it's from Chima? Yeah.
Oh, is it from Chima?
Oh, Fraser's saying it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. But yeah, overall, a fantastic build from him. Again, thank you so much to all the AFOLs that entered. We will do a full series on all the entrants so you guys can see.
Yeah.
As always, choosing is ridiculous. So, I mean, it could have gone any one way, but those are the ones that we decided to go with for varying reasons. So hopefully you guys enjoyed looking at those builds. We have. Hey, where'd it go?
Sorry, guys.
I just need to pull up the next few.
Oh, they're not seeing that.
They're just seeing the blank screen.
Thankfully.
Just a blank screen. What do we got?
Next one is T-falls, and which is the hardest category because we get so many of them. Starting with.
Hold on.
Can they see it?
They can see it, yeah. I just wanted to see what it looks like over here. There we go. So for our first T-fall winner, we have Alex. Do you remember Alex's age?
Age 17.
Age 17. This is the Joker's transformation. Chris, is there a bit of a storyline that goes with this? I think there's a few pieces that kind of go into this.
When Alex submitted this, he made a couple of vignettes, and this was, I believe, part of the Death of a Family comic book series that DC launched a while back relating to the Batman series. But yeah, there's a couple of vignette scenes that he sent us, but I think that's what he said. But
very cool.
Yeah. Just a couple of little tiny vignettes, but all the detailing and the storytelling in it is of course fantastic.
Yeah, we thought it was a very clean build. It's got a lot of little greebling, some nice detail parts. Again, not overly complicated. I think that's one of the things. You don't have to be overly complicated to get your point across, but just some really nice techniques to get the scene that he was trying to achieve, and it really achieves it nicely. I also like the grayscale sort of tone to it, but with the really bright green, sort of like toxicity in there. It sort of just gives like a nice pop of color for your eye. So that was Alex, age 17. Great use of color, great use of parts, really nice build. So
that was a quick sneak peek earlier.
This quick sneak peek, yeah. So this is Darren, age 15, and I want to get to this photo. This is Darren, age 15, and this is a really cool mech duo. I don't know how he decided to design these, and if anyone told me on paper the colors that he was going to use, I probably would have said I would not do that.
Yeah.
But he obviously had a vision, and the way that it was executed and came together, I think it actually works in like such a surprising way. So we have one really bright, one really bright one, one really dark one. Chris, which one is your favorite? Do you think out of the two? First of all,
I really like the dark blue with the orangey yellow color scheme.
Cool.
Very well executed. I do believe that often we have very limited part selection, and I think he made really good use of what he had at home. We've seen Darren enter before, and he's done some really nice mechs before, but this one really took it to the next level because he built a couple for us, but it does have some really nice articulation.
Yeah, good articulation, and again, like Chris said, I think mech builders are, you can get really crazy with the details and stuff like that. Like Messi Maru has been on, you've seen what you can create, but these are created with mostly relatively simplistic pieces like Chris mentioned, and so this is a really good inspiration for people who are wanting to get into the mech scene without having the depth of mech parts, like maybe like a Messi Maru, or Chubby Bots, or any of the other infamous mech builders.
Benjamin Che.
Yes, exactly.
But
so
another mech winner. This was not planned, but we were surprised to see another strong entry from the mech community.
Mech community, yeah, mech community really pushed through with season 3. So we had 2 winners so far. Yeah, very, very cool.
I love the posability, like the fact that Jared sent us more photos to be able to showcase his build. Very fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. He really thought about posability, and he not only thought about it, but he actually posed them in good poses.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's hard to find a good pose. Lou Sim is giving props and in the comments, so that's a win if anything. The last one that we have is it's called The Office. This is from James, age 13.
They keep getting younger. 17, 15, and now
13. Yeah, we've worked our way in reverse order.
This was a huge submission. and we had the privilege of seeing it in person.
We did.
In one of our displays, and James is age 13, guys. This is The Office. This is amazing.
So yeah, as Chris just mentioned, this is a scene from the show The Office. I believe he said it was the North American version.
Yes.
And it started off with he wanted to create the bullpen, which is on the left, so where everyone sort of sits in their actual office. And then things just kept getting bigger and bigger, and he started looking at blueprints as well as screenshots, as well as like 3D walkthroughs of the actual office space, so that he could recreate this scene, this pop culture reference, in as much detail as possible. What are some of your favorite parts, Chris, of this build?
Well, if we were to go into detail, like if we were to scroll through all the photos, all these rooms were really recreated almost in perfect tandem to the actual show. There's one here in particular with this photo. It's the chili.
He dropped the chili.
And his chili was hilarious.
Oh, that's so funny.
If you guys haven't seen this show yet, you have to watch it. It's something that you can just watch over and over again, and just clips are hilarious. But yeah, Kevin and his chili was my favorite so far.
That's so funny. Like Chris said, lots of really great details that you can sort of dive into. It's a fun build. It's honestly very large. Like this doesn't do it justice, but it's big. It takes a lot of space, so you can spend a lot of time going through and just looking at all the details. So very, very fun. And there's that chili again.
Michael Scott's office.
Yeah.
Dwight. Oh, the
Jim.
whole crew is there.
Everyone. The whole crew is obviously there. Just so fun. And if you're a fan of The Office, you'll enjoy going through each of the rooms and thinking of like your favorite moments in each one of those rooms.
There they are.
Here's a shot of the minifigs. Yeah. I like the Office sign that he made behind with just like the pure white minifigs.
Yeah, with the minifigs.
Very
that
cool.
was so cool. I want one.
More shots of the bullpen. He sent a lot of photos. There's a lot that goes into this, so we'll skim through these for you guys.
Yeah. What do they say?
There's some people. Obviously, guys, like winning isn't part of this. I see some people saying maybe next year or like see you in season 4. This is just for fun, guys. Like
it's not about winning.
It's
not...
impossible for us to really choose.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it's if only you guys knew just how hard it was for us to actually try and make a decision, because we know just how much time everyone put into these, and all the builds and all the submissions are amazing. So that was for the T-Fall category. Enjoy my desktop background for a moment while I set up the next one, which is the kids category, which is always really fun. Kids are going to be the builders that are going to be shaping, tomorrow's T-Fall and A-Fall categories.
Let's go check out what builds we have.
All right. I'm going to come back to this. You'll see why in a second. So,
yeah.
The first build that we have is from Kanesh and Natish, age 13.
Natish is age 9.
Natish is age 9. He had some help from his older brother. But this is Kanesh and Natish from Malaysia.
Yep.
So they did a bit of a tandem build here, and they made it an entire large city. So let's go through and see what we can see. So we have an Avengers Tower that was created and decked out.
We have a surf area.
Yep.
We have a hangar area or a garage. There's a mech, I believe. It looks like there's some fighting happening.
Yeah, continue.
Let's see, what else we got?
I'll move on.
Yeah, I wonder if we can get closer to.
Yeah, we got a bit
of
closer.
I believe.
There seems to be like a fire outbreak in the middle of the cross section there. There's a mech robot car, looks like Transformer, that's in there. A surfing area, as you mentioned, helicopters, there are cars. There seem to be some like floating, more like science fiction-y looking vehicles as well, hovercrafts. There's a guy who's just chilling and enjoying eating an eye, which is really fun.
Oh, there's a couple eyeballs.
There's a Lego store that's coming soon. And again, these are young builders. These guys, don't have the largest assortment of parts as like maybe the A-Falls.
Yep.
But it's really cool to see them take the pieces that they do have and create something that has so much story. As we've mentioned before, story is just so important. There's a Lego City Extreme Park. Looks like somebody's rock climbing. That's super fun.
And you got that indoor indoor wave,
Wave
pool.
pool, yeah, like the wake or the wake, yeah.
I don't know what those are called. I forgot. But
no, we don't know if next month will be a season 4. We'll let you know though. Trust us.
who's asking that?
Daniel Brickson.
There definitely will be a season 4. Just stay tuned.
Yeah, the wave is really cool. Someone just said the wave is looking great. That was Vicky, I believe.
Yeah.
Good use of color, and then just having that overarching, what do you call it, slope pieces to make the shape really fun. Again, overall, really nice build. Good job from the Malaysian boys. I just also wanted to show something from Kanesh specifically. Isn't this the cutest thing you've ever seen?
This was really well done.
Like,
I think it's just a very simple build, but it really captures like the whole shaping. And I definitely want this to be a Lego set.
Like, if you guys could have this in just like a tiny poly bag, like,
yeah.
would you guys want that? Like, I want one. I want many of them. Like, look at how cute this is.
And the fact that they used like tree plants to kind of like take the photos.
I love the foliage they used.
Just simple and classic. It's good. Overall fun.
But this was also from Kanesh. He was the brother of Natish who won the category just now. I just wanted to showcase it because it's so cute. Take some inspiration, take some screenshots. Let's make some of these. Let's make an army of them.
Who's next? You kind of flashed over accidentally to. We always keep doing this. We accidentally.
It's hard. It's hard to know the end.
Yeah.
So the next winner here, this is the the close up, is a name you've probably heard before. We can't get over like how
he's from our hometown.
How good he is. This is Yash, age 11.
Yes.
And
awesome.
he always comes in with some really interesting designs, really interesting builds out of the box into some mocks.
Yeah. So this one is the Batman hoverboard?
Batman scooter.
Oh, Batman scooter. Gotcha.
Yeah.
So a really well built Batman, great fig. Yeah, Colin keeps going over.
This is the best photo to see it. So he made a really fun. It's like a bat scooter. It's in all black. He's got the mask on. Mm-hmm. That was a terrible Batman impersonation. Really cool, just highlights of yellow. Overall, the silhouette and the shaping is really fun. Yep. He's really good at making things blocky, but still organic and fun, which is, I think, really good for somebody who's age 11.
Yeah, he really captures the shaping of the figure, and it's very you can definitely tell which character it is. So.
Yeah, like as you back up, you can see like that cape is only made of like 3 pieces. Mm-hmm. It's like a half sphere and 2 like triangular wing pieces, but it just looks like a flowing cape so well. So again, thank you so much, Yash, age 11 from Edmonton for this build. Really fun. And then the pile of gray pieces as he rolls through the concrete jungle. Very, very cool. Yeah, all the rubble. Okay. What a leisurely thing to do while going through rubble. Okay, guys.
And last but not least.
Last and definitely not least. This rounds out our season 3. Kind of funny. Season 3, 3 winner categories. 3 winners from each, and we also somehow have 3 mech winners, 1 from each category.
One more. On the 3rd day of BuildCon, we had a mech-focused creator.
That's true.
On the live stream. So
and on the like 3rd day of on the 3rd day of BuildCon, we saw Messi Maru. So that was really funny and interesting. Before you guys like dive into this, just curious, how old do you think this builder is? This is in the kids category, so it's up to age 12. Anyone who's still online and watching, could you please throw down your guesses really quick on the age of this builder? While I scroll through a few of these. Messi, if you're on still.
Yeah, what age do you think this builder is? You just scroll through all the photos.
Daniel Brickson says age 10. Oh. Way of the Bricks at age 8. I'm really hoping that Lou Sim is still in here. He's not. Vicky says age 10. Fraser says age 6. All right, so we had enough guesses. So ding, ding, ding. Fraser was actually on point. Messi Mara said 7. This builder is aged 6.
From Japan.
From Japan. Like, what a cool, like, he's Lou, you need to mentor this kid and make him the next mech builder of tomorrow, because like these builds are so cool. The color blocking, the gray and yellow, and then the inverted yellow and gray.
He's definitely getting inspired by somebody.
He's getting inspired by somebody.
Yushi is this builder's name.
Sorry, we forgot to mention his name. His name is Yushi, age 6, from Japan. Just really great.
we can't speak right now because it's just overwhelming on how we couldn't guess. We just thought like, oh, this is somebody a little bit older, but
we thought maybe older kids or younger T-fall, because we see builds like this a lot, like around, and that's usually the age they're in. But for a 6-year-old, it's really cool, and it just shows like how his brain is working in terms of like blocking the pieces, like the shoulders, the chest, the legs. It's so cool.
But we didn't expect it to be a trimecfecta.
Yeah, did you just make that up?
No.
Trimecfecta?
Trimecfecta for season 3. We got Maki Kid, who won A-Falls. We had Jared, who represented the T-Fall community in one mech, and we had Yushi. So yeah, thank you guys for entering. Season 3 has been very different.
Yeah, it's been really cool, really fun.
Just seeing what people submitted, being able to submit whatever it is that you guys want, and we were really excited to kind of just tell you guys who won today.
Fridge, like, dang, imagine if all the winners were mech builders. We don't favor mech builders. Trust me.
We should just do a mech contest.
We did do a mech contest. We did essential service mechs. We don't favor mech builders. It just happened to be that there was 3 really distinct, awesome mech builders from each age category. And yeah, that's it. So congratulations to all the winners. Again, guys, for people who didn't win, like, don't worry about it. Like, it's all for fun. We love seeing the builds. We can't wait to do a creators react on all of the builds, and have you guys taking a look at them. What about prizes, Chris?
I was going to say, we're going to reach out to all the winners. Please let us know if you guys were mentioned. Just let us know in the comments, like, well, I guess not in the comments, in our DMs. Let us know, like, we'll be in touch.
Lou Sim says he doesn't mind mech winners, so I'm glad we got his blessing. Yeah, we'll reach out to you guys. We know who you are. We have your emails. We'll send you an email, and we'll figure out the logistics behind getting you guys your prizes. We didn't really reveal prizes as much this time around. Mostly just because of logistics and timing. Like, we've been traveling back and forth. We have them in boxes. Like, they're just in boxes. Like, we don't even have time to unpack them and show you guys everything. So,
but they are pretty awesome.
Congratulations to all those winners. You guys have one more chance to win some small prizes. If you haven't already, go to Creator Industries Instagram and go to the DMs and say, I want to be part of the live stream giveaway. And we will be randomly number generating some people. We're not sure exactly how many yet, and sending off some small prizes for the people just as a thank you for coming in and viewing our very first ever live stream, our very first ever virtual convention here at New Horizon Mall.
Sounds good. Whatever Colin said. Well, thank you guys for joining us, and we will see you guys next time.
Absolutely. Take it easy, guys.
Bye, guys.